Good morning, Bills Mafia. I'm excited. Everybody excited. Ryan is excited. He says, let's freaking go. Smash those likes button. Smash the like button right there. I'm excited. I've got all kinds of gambling news that I want to talk about.
Big weekend for you. Big weekend for you.
I'm so excited, dude. I woke my wife up. I said, get up. It's like 3 o'clock in the morning. She said, what do you want? I said, we're going to win a lot of money this weekend, right? And she was like, shut up, leave me alone. I said, yes, ma'am. Right. So I slept on the couch for the remainder of the night, but I am ready to go.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell you're excited.
I'm excited. I've been drinking coffee all day.
Yeah. We don't have to get into the coffee again.
I mean, we can. I mean, I'm kind of out. I've been drinking this caramel stuff. I've got 2 types of caramel coffee, both from Starbucks. One's okay. One's a little bit better. But, I mean, you get it. So how was your vacation? How was that?
It was good. It was nice to get away for a little bit. It was nice to get out. I got to go explore some national parks. It was nice.
Yeah, I
know you missed me, though, so it's like we can just start off there. Like, how much did you miss me?
Well, here's the thing, right? When the judge is on here, he just talks. He likes to hear himself talk, and it's hard to talk.
It's like dealing with Casey. Sometimes.
It is, because I also like to hear myself talk. So I just like that was me. While Steve just talked about, I don't know. I mean, he's like the best, right? He knows literally everything, and that sounds like I'm being sarcastic, but Steve's mind is brilliant, right? So it's hard to compete with him because I'm just like, I don't know. He's I'm just
gonna trust you on this one.
Yeah, he's like naming practice squad players. He knows all of them by names. He knows their BFFs. Like it's like Matt Damon at a chalkboard. Yeah, he's 100% like that. So I love Steve, but I'm so excited to have Nap here so I can push him over and I can talk the whole time. So
yeah.
I'm
and lose some bets to me personally. Yeah.
So we are definitely going to get into that. If anybody's curious, me and Nap has a weekly $10 bet that we do. We've got our game that is ready to go. Everybody's excited about the Bills and them going against Patriots, them going against the big brother. Tom Brady's not there. Rico, guys, if y'all haven't seen Rico's video where he's with the
Patriots fans.
Oh my
God, that was incredible.
That was
incredible.
Feel sorry for me, like, dude, shut up, get on out of here. He was like, we've got rings. No one cares, dude. They're like, oh, well, half our team. No one cares, dude. No one cares. They literally looked like they were about to start crying, and it was pitiful. It was pitiful to see a grown man look like they're about to start crying. So I appreciate all the people in here. Mario's here, Carl's here, Scott's here, Elliot. What's going on, dude? Kenny is here saying Bills Mafia. I'm ready to go, but let's get into it. Let's talk. So what we're going to do.
Let's do the gambling lines first.
Yes, we're going to talk gambling. We're going to do Buffalo first. We're going to talk about Buffalo because you and Steve had a conversation this morning about the weather, right? Mm-hmm. And the Buffalo game. So we're going to talk the Buffalo game real quick. I think the line has gone up. I'm checking it now. Right now, to verify the line has gone up for Buffalo. I think it is +4 for Buffalo. It's minus 4.5 for Buffalo. New England's plus 4.5. Man, I'm not gonna sit here and pretend to be a weatherman. I don't necessarily care about the weather, and I say that very loosely because everybody's gonna be like, bro, a hurricane's gonna happen. Like, why don't you care about the weather? It's not like that, but it's just like you get what I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to sit there and just stare at the weather and be like, oh no, like it's the weather. So I will say, Steve made a good point. You gotta take the under on this one. The under is the line is 40.5. I think you gotta take the under.
If you're gonna bet the over under, take the under. But I personally would stay away from that just. Together because I think with this over under, with it being 40.5, I mean there is still a very good chance that like the Bills could get to 30 and then the Patriots get 10 or like 31 or whatever. Like the game could definitely go over despite the weather possibly being pretty rough. Yeah, and so I would just stay away from it completely because that one makes me a lot more nervous than the spread.
So let's talk about the spread. This actually makes me nervous. And I brought it up on my podcast. Speaking of podcasts, Nap, your podcast comes out on Fridays. So make sure that you subscribe to Nap Knows Bills on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere that you can really listen to podcasts. And then, of course, mine and Manny's up in the comments already saying, let's go Buffalo. Our podcast comes out on Saturdays. It's called Buff City. We talk all things gambling. We mix in a little bit of fantasy football in there. But I mentioned this on my podcast, Buff City. I have not taken the Bills. I haven't taken the underdog in any of the games, right? Bills have been favored all season long. I haven't taken the underdog in any of the games against the Bills because there hasn't been a need to. The lines have been incredible for Buffalo, right?
Yeah.
Now I'm starting to have second thoughts, right? And what would Manny always tell me? Manny would tell me, hey, let's go with your gut, right? And my gut always says Buffalo minus 4.5, but you can make a case for the Patriots plus 4.5. I think this game is going to be close. I really do. And I think the weather, if we want to talk about the weather,
I don't think it's going to be that close. I think it's going to be like a one-score game, but I think it's like a 7-8 point one-score game.
So this is how I look at things, especially on divisional. And everybody's like, hey, how do you get your lines? How do you determine who you're going to bet? When it comes to divisional games, it's going to be close, right? Normally I take the underdog in divisional games just because it's going to be close. It might come down to 3 points, right? And when you've got a score where it's like plus 4.5, and I'm not even talking Patriots and Bills right now. I'm just looking straight at my goodness, Scott, let's talk then. Let's go ahead and talk. Scott, man, you're in here all the time. We definitely appreciate you. But Scott says, in your guys' opinion, can we have a chance to beat New England today if Josh Allen plays like you did the first 3 weeks? I know it's supposed to be bad weather, but if he reads the field right, goes through his reads right. Scott, you make a great point, right? Because last week, Josh was given he was taking what was being given to him in the zone, right, against the Jets. And he had a great game. Red zone offense, there's a lot of penalties that happened to him. But, Nat, man, you are a lot better at all this. You go ahead. I know you're brimming to talk about this.
All right, yeah, so I don't even think that Josh Allen has to play the way he played the first 3 or 4 weeks to win this game. I really don't. New England is that banged up. They're missing that many guys. Stephon Gilmore's not playing. Julian Edelman's not playing. N'Keal Harry's not playing. Kyle Duggar's not playing. Plus all the guys that opted out in the offseason. And then still, there's more guys that could be marked as out once the inactive lists come out. So I don't even think that Josh Allen has to play that way to win this game. I think Josh Allen just has to not turn the ball over.
Correct.
Really, yeah. That's all I think that has to happen. If the Bills can control the ball, whether that means that they run the ball a little bit here and there, because we all know their running game has been a little suspect, a little bit. I don't think that the Bills have to throw for 300, 400 yards to win this game. If Josh Allen can get 250 yards and 2 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns maybe, I think that's all it's going to take, because I think everything else will play itself out. And we saw the Bills kind of figure things out a little bit last week against the zone, like you mentioned earlier, Casey, and get Cole Beasley involved. And I think that's really big this week, is even with a lot of their corners, Stephon Gilmore not playing, getting Cole Beasley involved is still going to be able to open things up for the Bills throughout the rest of the field. If they can get him involved early, then things are going to open up a lot over the top for John Brown and Diggs, because it does look like John Brown's good to go this week.
So I agree 100%. But to get back to the gambling portion of everything, when I see a divisional game, I normally take the underdog, because divisional games are close, regardless of the matchup, regardless of what's going on. If I see a divisional game, I'm like, okay, well, if it's plus 7 or plus 3.5 or plus 3, I'm taking the dogs in that, because I feel like a divisional game is always going to be close. If we look back at Seattle and Arizona, they always play each other close. What is going on? AK Cash, new member alert. That is awesome. So that's how I look at divisional games, right? I'm curious as to how this plays out. I'm actually going to stay away from this game when it comes to betting. I took Buffalo minus 3.5. I locked him in for that. Y'all are coming. Man, guys, y'all are on fire today. That's what I'm talking about. The Pullout King, welcome back, my man. I can't wait to watch that. Sorry, Ass Pats fan on the Rico Report. Let's go. Bro, if y'all ain't seen the Rico Report, go and watch it. 2 grown men cry, and it is great, right? It is awesome. Man, y'all, I'm trying to talk gambling. But anyways, so that's I say I've got Buffalo. I've got them locked in minus 3.5. Do you agree or do you not agree?
Yeah, I got Buffalo covering the spread. I think normally I agree with you in a sense of like divisional games.
Yeah.
You take the underdog to cover because they're probably going to play it a little closer. But when it's this big of a talent disparity on the teams, I think you throw that out the window because even if the Bills haven't been playing their best football over the last 3 weeks, they kind of figured it out at halftime last week. And New England's they're just not a good football team.
they're just not good.
Yeah, they're just not good. So if the Bills can slow down their running game, make Cam throw the ball, I don't see why the Bills can't win by even like two. I don't know if you listened this morning already, but Joe Miller on his podcast this morning they put out, he was saying anything less than a 3-touchdown win is disappointing for him. I'm not going that far, but I think the Bills could definitely win by double digits, and that would not surprise me whatsoever.
You know what the Patriots remind me of? Nap, you live in a bigger city than me. I'm a redneck, right? I live in a very modest town, right? We don't necessarily have gas station sushi, right? But that's what the Patriots remind me of. They're gas station sushi, right? They're not good and they're cheap. Okay.
Yeah.
If you want good sushi, you don't go to a gas station. And right now the Patriots are gas station sushi. Before we get into, guys, if y'all don't mind, go ahead and start typing in your fantasy questions. We're going to get to fantasy here in 2.5 seconds. I'm going to go over. I've got 2 parlays that I want to discuss. And then, of course, I definitely want to discuss a, 9-team parlay I have with some players on FanDuel. So if y'all don't mind, go ahead. Scott, back at it again. I love Scott, dude. He's in here all the time. He's a loyal Buffalo Fanatics listener.
Yeah,
I love
awesome.
him. He's in every single YouTube show that we do. We appreciate you, Scott. But Scott comes in. He says, I'm worried about Cam Newton because this could be his comeback game for not playing well against San Francisco, and he can't come out and play lights out. Scott, before I let Nat jump into that, I do want to point out, who is Cam Newton throwing to? Some dude named Gunner, which, by the way, cool name, right? But are you a good wide receiver? No.
It's a cool name for a quarterback. It's not a cool name for a wide receiver.
Yeah, exactly. So, and when he came out of college, they were pushing him to be the next Julian Edelman. He's obviously not the next Julian Edelman. So, Scott, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Cam Newton is going to have to put literally the whole Pats team on his shoulders and run the ball a billion times because he's not going to be able to throw it. Napty, is there anything else you want to say to that?
Yeah, I mean, it just comes down to the reason he's not playing well is because they don't have weapons for him to throw to.
Correct.
Every single one of their wide receivers is struggling or injured, and I mean, what do you want him to do? I don't think he's a bad quarterback by any means. I think Cam Newton is a good quarterback, but that's like good and average, pretty much. I don't think he's great by any means. You look at his career, 2015, complete outlier. You look at this season, he's had one actual good game, and it was against Seattle, whose defense is absolute trash.
Yeah.
So, and that was the only good game that he's played. He struggles right now. That's why he's struggling to throw the ball. He doesn't throw touchdown passes. All of his production, most of his production is coming in the run game. I'm just not too worried about that.
Yep. All right, guys, we're going to get into my 3 parlays I have. 2 of them are for teams. One of them I think is very interesting. It's all about who's going to score a touchdown, and I want to see what y'all think in the comments. Let's go ahead and jump into it. I've got a 3-team parlay. Nap, I want to talk about that one first, and
let's
then
get into it.
Let's just do it. Let's just do the thing, right? So I got 3-team parlay, which if people are wondering what is a parlay, right? It basically means I'm going to take this, I'm going to take this, and I'm going to take this, and then I'm going to bet them all together. And if all 3 of them hit, then I'm gonna win some money, right? I'm gonna win a lot of money, which is why I woke my wife up at 3 o'clock in the morning. And I said, "Get up, we're gonna win some money, right?" So let's jump into it. I've got Pittsburgh Steelers at Baltimore Ravens. Pittsburgh is the dog. Pittsburgh is the dogs this week, +4. Criminal stat line. Why would you do that to them? If Pittsburgh is, and I told you this yesterday, Nat, Pittsburgh is the most well-rounded NFL team right now. I think they're the most well-rounded NFL team right now. Baltimore cannot compete with them. I don't care if it's at Baltimore. I don't care about nothing, right? Baltimore cannot compete with this Pittsburgh team. I don't even have to talk about the defense because the offense is probably going to just blow them out anyways, right? And Baltimore has good defense, right? But when you have a poison at every single level, almost like Kansas City, then this is a no-brainer for me. I've got Pittsburgh +4. The other bet I've got is Tennessee at Cincinnati. I'm going Tennessee -7. I normally take Cincinnati here, but Cincinnati is out pretty much their whole offensive line, right? Tennessee is a good team. This is not the 9-7 teams of the past. This is a good team, and I am afraid of them if we have to play them in the playoffs. I just am, right? So -7 with Tennessee. So that's Pittsburgh +4, Tennessee -7. The last game I have is Tampa Bay Buccaneers -12.5, right? So I've got -12.5. They're playing New York Giants on Monday Night Football. Look, this Tampa Bay defense is legit, right? They made Aaron Rodgers look like a rookie quarterback, right? This is Daniel Jones, who, by the way, I think is going to be
he's the turnover king. Like Daniel Jones is the turnover king.
He will be a good quarterback. You're not going to be a good quarterback this week, Daniel Jones. Hate it for you. Michael coming in and saying his prediction, 31-0 Buffalo. He's thinking that Buffalo is going to shut out New England. Wouldn't that be the absolute dream? So
that'd be incredible.
So our first parlay, I'm going to go through it real quick. I've got Pittsburgh Steelers +4. I've got Tennessee -7. Tampa Bay Buccaneers -12.5. Those are the BF, I said it, BF guarantee this week that all three of those games hit, right? If you listen to last week, a YouTube show, I gave you 5 teams. I said 5 teams. These 5 teams are going to hit. Guess what happened now? All 5 of them hit. All of them, right? We're making money here at BF, right? We're making money here at Buffalo Fanatics. So if you're in, you're in. Let's do it, right? So moving on to my 4-team parlay. This one is all of those 3 teams I just mentioned. Pittsburgh +4, Tennessee -7, Tampa Bay -12.5, right? But I added Green Bay at Minnesota. Is it? Nope, it's Minnesota Vikings at Green Bay, but I'm taking Green Bay -6. This was an easy one for me. Zimmer he's getting fired, and I like him. I think he's a good coach, but he's getting fired after this game.
They're like the entire team is struggling. The organization is struggling. Yep. I mean, it's not necessarily quite to the point where it's a dumpster fire, but they're getting close this year. They're struggling all around.
Yep, I agree. So I've got that 14 parlay, which is me adding Green Bay -6 in there. All in all, if you do these bets and you bet about 25 on one, 50 on the other, you're going to make about $800 if you do this. Obviously, bet at your own risk, right? But if you want to make some money, those are the BF guarantees of the week. So moving on, Michael, once again, he's coming up with his 31-0 Buffalo score prediction, which I think would be outstanding. I'll be
incredible. That would be incredible. I think we'd all love that.
Yep. And now our 7-team, Larry, Love, Jr., John Brown, or Corey Davis, or CeeDee Lamb, and fantasy. Someone tell me, please, let's take out CeeDee Lamb, right? I love CeeDee Lamb, but let's take him out. He's you've got a 7th-round draft pick who's about to be throwing him the ball. So let's take him out.
Yeah, I mean, that's difficult.
Yep. John Brown coming off an injury, I don't necessarily like. What the other one was it Corey Davis? I like Corey Davis matchup against Cincinnati. So if I'm looking at all of those, now tell me to shut up anytime. But if
I'm right there with you. I am right there with you. Where I would take Corey Davis out of that group. It worries me with Dallas, like you said, 7th-round quarterback. Was it Ben DiNucci? I think he was the backup to Nathan Peterman when he was playing at Pitt. So that says everything you need to know right there. Shout out Rico. Nathan Peterman was the starter at Pitt. And he was his backup. Whatever. Not great there for him. And then you get into John Brown. I think even more so with John Brown when it comes to playing him this week. Even though we're, like we said earlier, we're not weathermen. We can't predict everything that's going to happen. But we're definitely seeing some reports that the weather might be a little difficult in Buffalo this week. So if it is, that definitely factors in. And that matters when you're talking about a wide receiver, getting fantasy points. Because if it's really, really windy, like there's a possibility that it is.
It's going to be hard to throw.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be hard to throw.
So the Pullout King says, what platform do you bet on? Hey, no free ads. But I'm starting to use FanDuel because it just became legal last night at midnight. So your boy was up late last night, typing up spreadsheets, putting in his bets, getting ready to go. But I do use FanDuel. I like FanDuel. It's a legal sports betting site. I really like it. It's good. You have to pay taxes, but it is what it is, right? Moving on, I've got my 17 parlay. Then we're going to jump straight into fantasy. We're going to talk all things fantasy all day long, right? So this 17 parlay, those of you in the comments, I think y'all will like this parlay. Y'all let me know what you think about it, okay? So basically about this 17 parlay, I'm throwing down $10, right? I'm throwing down $10, but it's anytime touchdown score, right? So one of these guys has to score a touchdown, and that's it. And I'll win, right? They just have to score a touchdown, right? So the first guy I've got is Devontae Adams against Minnesota. All Devontae Adams has to do is score a touchdown. So I got Devontae Adams. The next one is James Conner, right? The next one is Alvin Kamara. Next one is George Kittle. Next is Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt is playing Las Vegas Raiders, right? And then the next one is Tyler Boyd at Tennessee, right? So all 7 of those guys have to score a touchdown this week, and your boy's going to win about $908.
It's a solid payout, and you're picking all favorites there. Guys who usually get into the end zone more often than not.
Yep. And that's essentially what I did. So I went there and I picked all the favorites, right? And I just threw down $10. So these guys are favorite by Vegas, right? They get into the end zone. That's what they do. So, why not bet $10? So I like that bet. I can't wait to cash out and win some money. But, man, y'all are ready for –
Real quick, before we get into the fantasy talk, can we talk our bet?
Yes, I'm so sorry.
Let's talk our bet because we disagree on – I mean, we have a couple of games that we disagree on. But the main one that I was looking through when I saw your bets, the one that I disagree on, you're taking San Francisco to cover 3. I think that Seattle just comes out on fire. I think that they're just going to be hot this week. They're upset that they lost.
Yeah.
And that offense is
ridiculous.
Ridiculous, yeah. And the 49ers, they look a little bit better last week because they were going against a bad Patriots team. And the 49ers are good, but I think they got a little boosted because of that. I'm not as high on them. And I know this goes back to the whole divisional game, right?
Yes.
And that's where you're playing this pick. I'm just playing it off of Russell Wilson is going to come back and he's going to be out of his mind. He's going to play out of his mind. DK Metcalf he had a bad game. He did nothing because he was shadowed by Patrick Peterson all game. He's not going to put up 0 again. He's not going to have, one catch for 7 yards or 17 yards or whatever he had. He's not doing that again. I think that this Seattle team is going to come up and put up 35 points on the 49ers, and they're just not going to be able to keep up, and they're probably going to win by 7 to 10 points. That's where I'm at with it.
So you just talked about the Seattle's defense being suspect, right?
I did.
And I'm not talking about Russell Wilson versus – I always hated that. I always hated how it's this quarterback versus this quarterback. It was okay, when did that quarterback start playing defense? It's not that, right? I think San Francisco has put up 2 good games back-to-back, which, sure, Patriots game, if you don't want to count them, whatever, we won't count them. But if we go back a little bit further and we look at the LA game, right, when they played the Rams, they put up a good game. Jimmy G was hurt that game, right? So they have a good track record. Then it comes back to the divisional games, how divisional games are always close, right? Divisional games are just always close. And I normally, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to take the dogs in divisional games. The thing about this is I like Kyle Shanahan against a defense that is suspect. I like the way he schemes up players, right? I'm not saying San Francisco is going to win because I believe in the Seattle team. But I could see it easily coming down to a field goal, right? I could see it easily coming down to a field goal because I think the way you beat Russell Wilson is to keep him off the field. Tevin Coleman is coming off IR. He was activated, so he's ready to go. Jimmy G, he hasn't thrown long passes downfield, but when you have George Kittle, do you really need to? That's all about the yak, baby. So that's why I'm going with them, San Fran. I don't know, man. I can see.
Do we get a push again this week? Do we get a push again this week?
We might get a push this week
because we're 1-1-1 right now.
So
despite all of those lies that you want to say, we are 1-1-1 right now.
257 to 8.
See, your math just doesn't add up.
Well, fun fact: in high school, I had to go to remedial math as a senior. It was hilarious. I just played on my phone the whole time. Actually, the line right now is minus 2.5 for Seattle.
But we have it at 3.
We have it at 3.
Yeah, both of us had it at 3.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to make sure. To make sure before we get into it. All right. So that's a $10 bet. Venmo. Can't wait for you to send me money. I'm all about making money. So let's get into it. Amari or Stephon Diggs in fantasy, guys. Will, I appreciate the question. Amari's being thrown to by a 7th-round pick. I'm taking Stephon. If I have to choose either or of those, it's going to be a weird game for the Bills just because of the weather.
I think it's going to be a weird game for both of them.
It is, yeah, for sure. But I'm taking Stephon. I'm not trusting any Cowboys, anybody except for maybe Zeke Elliott. But he is almost dead to me.
Look, I mean, we saw it when the Bills played the game against the Chiefs. Stephon Diggs still got his fantasy points despite it being bad weather. So I have no doubt in my mind that, especially against a team that is losing their number one cornerback, Stephon Diggs should still be able to put up 15 points at least, somewhere around that.
Yeah,
I don't really have any worries about him.
So Elliott, they try to steal your comment away from me, Elliott, and I was like, no, bring it back up. It says I have Zeke Elliott, James Conner, or Devin Singletary. Which running back should I start? James Conner.
Yeah.
We want James Conner to get in the end zone because your boy has a 17 parlay. So let's go James Conner.
I think Zeke worries me right now, too.
Zeke does worry me.
He's had so many fumbling problems this year, and he's still getting his fantasy points, but he's had so many fumbling problems this year that I'm nervous about him. And I'm not ready to say that you should be starting Devin Singletary over James Conner at any point right now. Like, James Conner's just having himself a good year. So,
which two?
Which two? Ooh, which two? Okay. James Conner is clearly not one of them.
Yeah, James Conner and Devin Singletary. It's going to be a running game for Buffalo. It's going to be a running game.
I'm going to go James Conner and Zeke. Despite, I would play Zeke over Singletary because we just don't know how involved Singletary is going to be.
Chad coming in clutch with a good question. This is what everybody has been wondering all year long, right? Diggs or Justin Jefferson? I'm going Diggs. I'm going Diggs.
I think I'm going to go Justin Jefferson on this. I think Jefferson has a big game because I just don't think that they have much else.
There's no one else to throw the ball to,
there's no one else.
Yeah.
And Jefferson's been performing well most of the year.
Yeah.
He's had a couple of down games, but he's been performing well most of the year.
What I worry about is
and they're going to be playing from behind.
Yeah, that Green Bay defense, right? So if Green Bay gets too far ahead, you've got a point. If Green Bay gets too far ahead, right, all they're going to do is be throwing the ball. They're going to be throwing the ball to Justin Jefferson. He's going to get a bunch of garbage time points, which in fantasy, you'll want some garbage time points. So
it doesn't matter when he gets the points. And that's the thing. It's not saying I like Justin Jefferson better than I like Stephon Diggs. That's not the case whatsoever. I just think that Jefferson has a better chance to get fantasy points this week because he's going to have more of that garbage time.
Moss Coleman or Mike Williams in my flex. I like Mike Williams.
I think I do too.
I like Mike Williams.
He has the highest potential, I think.
He does. Yeah, he's playing Denver. Who's Denver's cornerbacks right now? Who's covering Mike Williams?
I think their corners are mostly hurt, right? Ojemudia.
Ojemudia. Which, by the way, I like him.
He's solid.
He's going to be a good player. But, I mean, okay, well, he's not going to – is he going to be covering him one-on-one? I don't know. You also got Keenan Allen there as well. So, yeah, I'm going Mike Williams on that one. Rate my team from 1 to 10, 0. Allen, Kamaro, Gibson, Edmonds, Scott, Tariq, Diggs, A.J. Brown, Godwin, Hunter Henry, Koo, and Bills defense. How many people are in your league that you got that many?
18 league? 18 league probably?
Yeah, you got a pretty solid team right there.
It's just being able to get – I assume Kamara probably went first.
Yeah.
Then Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
AJ, or I would say Diggs went, then AJ Brown. That's a good team. I like that.
That is a good team.
That's a solid team.
You know what? I'm going to give you an 8 because you got to have room to grow. You got to have room to grow.
I was going to say 8.5. It's a solid team.
Nap just follows whatever I say. Saints or Bills defense? I don't like the Saints defense.
Well,
look, y'all are making it hard on us because you're giving us two teams and it's like –
neither defense has played that great all year. The Bills have probably combined one full game of having really good defensive play. Yeah. And they're both against the Jets.
So if we're picking and if we're looking at potential, I think this is a game potentially where the Bills defense could stand out. I think the Saints are playing a Bears team that is
They're frisky. The Bears are frisky.
Yeah. They're scrappy, right?
Yes.
So I would go Bills defense here, but you're gonna be clinching all game long. I guarantee it.
I think the reason you go the Bills defense this week is because it's Cam Newton. Cam Newton the last 2 weeks, 2 interceptions, 3 interceptions, back-to-back weeks. He's gone no touchdowns and multiple interceptions, and he's not really – he's just not playing well, and he's the guy who's going to be touching the ball every single play.
Yep.
At the very least, like the Patriots should have a low-scoring game. Even if the Bills also have a low-scoring game, the Patriots shouldn't be scoring a lot of points. So I'm more worried about the Bears offense finding a rhythm a little bit more than the Patriots offense right now, which is really weird.
That's that gas station sushi. Abel comes in. He says, start 2, Cooper Kupp, Ruggs, Fulgham, Fournette, Moss. Who we starting? All right, first off, I want to say Cooper Kupp out. He's been in my lineup for a couple of weeks. He's not been doing good. I'm actually going to take him out. I'm not going to look back. He is playing Miami, but Miami actually has a pretty good secondary. So I'm taking Cooper Kupp out. What about you? You agree with that? You're making faces.
I'm just going right to who I'm starting. I'm starting Ruggs and I'm starting Fulgham.
Yeah,
you're going against 2 bad the Browns have a bad defense.
Yep.
Despite like having a good defensive line with like they're able to generate a pass rush, they can't stop anybody. You saw last week against the Bengals. It was like every single time the other team got the ball, whether it was the Browns or the Bengals, they were just driving down and scoring, and nobody could stop a soul out there. So Ruggs should be able to have a good game. And then you got Fulgham going against a bad Cowboys defense. Come on, start those.
Get out of here. Get out of here.
Yeah, start those guys.
I will say the Browns have like one good defensive back.
But like Ruggs' speed is scary.
I mean, because
it's scary.
What did Al Davis say? Can't coach speed. So he's definitely a Raider. Ruggs is a Raider forever. All right, what's next? Fulgham is having a year, by the way.
He is. I picked him up. Good on me, right? That's why my fantasy team is doing so well. I should probably give you some lessons in that.
Look, I'd say it all the time. Y'all ever go into a mechanic shop and you see their car and it ain't been fixed up in a while, right? That's because they're too busy fixing everybody else's stuff. So I'm the mechanic in that. Just call me the mechanic. Casey the mechanic. There it is.
You're going to give yourself a bunch of nicknames.
I could give anything. Take Cup. Manny, you don't count. Go away. Denzel Ward is fast versus Ruggs. Denzel Ward was who I was talking about. Man, y'all keep it coming. Hey, while we've got a little bit of downtime while we're waiting for some Phillips question, go ahead and smash the like button. Go ahead and stay with us, right? Our time, man, we got about 30 more minutes here, but stay with us. We're going to get all kinds of stuff going on. We actually have a new guy coming on to the Buffalo Fanatics pregame show.
Real excited about that.
Yeah, Jeff is coming on. He does a little bit of fantasy. He does some gambling as well, but he's got some good insights as far as Bills. So make sure you tune in for that. Make sure you continue to smash that like button. Also, make sure you send this link to all your friends. That's what I do. I just send it to my buddies. Make sure they get on there. If you're a Bills fan and you're not on this pregame tailgate, like what are you doing, man? What are you even up to? Are you even awake right now? Philip says Titans or Saints defense. I stream defenses. Titans all day long, dude. You're paying.
That's an easy one.
I don't care if Joey B. Look, where's Adam? Adam, are you in here? I don't care if Joey B throws for 30 times. Titans are gonna wreck his world today.
They're gonna struggle so much because the Bengals' offensive line is just non-existent right now. It looks like I hear about their offensive line, and I just remember the video from training camp where it's just Joe Burrow running off to his left, and you see no offensive players trying to block for him. It's just the defensive players running after him. That's what I expect to happen today. I don't expect much from the Bengals, so he's probably going to have a couple of turnovers too. I love Joe Burrow. Big-time Joe Burrow fan. Went to school down in Athens, so a lot of people down there loved him, but I just don't think this is going to be the game to have him go off.
AK Cash, who, by the way, is a brand new member for us today. AK Cash says underrated waiver wire receiver to pick up. Well, I don't have a receiver, but I do have a tight end that I think everybody should pick up, and that is Tunyon from Green Bay. He's looking legit. Green Bay finally has a tight end.
Is he a wide receiver? Yeah, tight end. Okay.
He's a tight end. So I know you said receiver, but the dude plays like a big body receiver. Like he's making money. So pick up Tunyon if you got him. You can put him in the flex position, and you should be winning. He's going to get you those those good, solid tight end numbers, the 10 to 12 to 15, depending on how many touchdowns he scores that game, right? So I have Tunyon Elliott coming in hot. So, yep, that's right.
Another guy to possibly consider, Scotty Miller, Tampa. I know they have Antonio Brown coming in. I don't know if he's playing this week or not, but he's the slot receiver. Like Brady loves his slot receiver, and he's getting consistent production. He has double-digit points in 4 weeks so far this year. Just a consideration.
So, do the Jets lose by 30 today potentially?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I saw that line. It was plus 19.5, and I was like, ooh.
You're tempted to be like, well, like they have to cover it, but no, they have nobody. They have nobody, and
not going to cover.
Yeah. Okay, so let's transition a little bit real quick. We can take more. We'll take more fantasy questions of like start 'em or sit 'em or who should we pick up. We'll do that to finish out the show too. But let's talk fantasy in this Bills-Patriots game specifically.
Okay.
Who is your must start for? And we're gonna go the Patriots first. Is there a player that you would start for the Patriots this week?
Maybe Damian Harris. I looked at his stats. Like they're okay. You know, they're not like blow you out of the water.
He's been their most consistent running back.
He has. So he would probably be the only guy that I'm like starting. Manny's saying Rex Burkhead. I looked at Rex Burkhead. Damian Harris has better stats than him this year. He's got.
I feel like the one thing with Rex Burkhead, I actually agree with you on like if you're going to play somebody, it's got to be Damian Harris because that's just who you're going to take a chance on. He's just been the most consistent for them.
Correct.
So far.
Yeah.
But I for some reason I just can't shake Rex Burkhead. Just seems to always have a good game against the Bills where he gets involved in the screen game. He rips off a couple of 10+ yard runs. And that worries me this week in terms of like their offensive. Maybe they do get Rex Burkhead involved. I would consider him, but I'd probably lean more towards Damian Harris.
I'm sorry, I can't focus. Jordan K just said, "Dude in the red hoodie, you look Samoan." I'm not.
He didn't even want to call you by your name.
No, I'm not Samoan. That's cool. I think that's a compliment. That's a huge compliment. So I'm taking it as a compliment. I'm gonna take it, compliment, put it in my pocket. But yeah, I saw he loves Mona. I've seen Mona one time. You're welcome. Moving on. I don't know, man. I like Damian Harris in this game, but
yeah.
The Patriots are gas station sushi. Like there's nobody on that team. Like if I'm hurting, I'm starting Damian Harris. How many yards do you expect Cam to get with his legs? Not many.
Really?
Yeah.
I actually expect him to be able to run a little bit.
He's going to get rocked one good time, and here comes Jarrett Stidham.
He's not the kind of guy that gets rocked.
He's going to get rocked this game.
But I think he probably runs for like 50 yards.
I think
because he's going to have to. He has to.
Yeah, sure.
If they're even going to have a chance, he has to.
Sure, we say he has to. He has to. Yeah, if he wants to win, he has to. But he's not.
I'm not even saying to win, just to have a chance.
That's why he's not going to. He's not. Well, he's going to try, but he's not going to succeed. I don't think he runs this game. Like I don't think he's going to be running a lot this game. I think he's going to try to scramble, right? But I think he lose more yards than anything. I think if we're setting the over under on 50, I'm taking the under.
I'm taking the over.
Take the over.
Yeah, I'm taking the over there.
Be crazy.
Because I said that, and I said it. So I'm going to take the over there. I don't think he's going to do much through the air, but I think he's going to be able to do a little bit of damage on the ground because that's where he's best right now.
Elliot just said the Bills are gas station pizza. Sometimes great. You know what? That's a good one because I won't lie. There's a couple of gas stations where you go in there and you're like, yep, give me that right there. And it's actually pretty daggum good. So
you do live in the sticks then.
Bro, hey, I tell you what, if we're talking gas station, we're talking food. Shell gas stations have the best breakfasts. Like breakfasts? They have the best
about like just between gas stations or
just between gas stations?
Is that your go-to breakfast?
Just between gas stations, right? When it's like 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm going somewhere and I see a Shell gas station, I'm pulling over and I'm getting a sausage and biscuit. And them jokers are delicious, right? So yeah, I'm sorry that I live in the middle of nowhere. Epinesa breakout game from Abel Austin. No, No. I mean, don't get me wrong. He's been involved a lot more, and I always hate seeing people say cut at Vanessa. It's like, why? So, but I think he's gonna be. I think he's gonna be good, right?
He's a project.
Yeah,
he's a project right now. He's still got some time to work on his craft and probably get a little bit bigger the way he wants to play, the way he played in college. He can't do that right away in the NFL. So not yet. I'm not ready to go there yet.
So losing this game is embarrassing. Joe, I agree. Yeah. I agree. But I've done some embarrassing stuff in my lifetime. Bills. Oh, real quick, humble plug. Bills guy says Nap Knows Bills podcast is good. Definitely at the bold prediction, taking people's predictions.
I appreciate it.
He didn't mention anything about Bluff City.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you.
I just appreciate the love that you have for Buffalo Fanatics. All right.
So we did the Patriots. Let's move over to the Bills.
Yep.
Who is your must start for the Bills? And just like we do every week, we're throwing Josh Allen out of this because if you have him, you're probably going to start him. It's not really a discussion on this. So who is your must start for the Bills this week?
This is a hard one, man.
It is. It's harder than you would think.
Cole Beasley, probably.
Okay, so you did listen to my podcast then?
No, I don't listen to your garbage podcast.
I delete yours when it comes out.
Here's the thing. I like Cole Beasley. I also like Gabriel Davis, and I'm not afraid to admit that. We're going to do this for another week? I like Gabriel Davis too. But are we really going to do this for another week? He has caught so many touchdowns that have been called back, and it's maddening. It is maddening. He literally would be having such a good year in fantasy if we would just quit getting penalties.
Yeah, but I mean, he's hurt by dumb penalties.
When I say Gabriel Davis, I'm not talking about you're in a 5-team or 8-team league. I'm talking about like
a deeper league.
You're in a deeper league, right? And you have to have a flex position. He's not your number one. Gabriel wants to go back to golf for his touchdown. Hey, Steve, go back to sleep. But I don't know. I like Cole Beasley. And I know I like Gabe Davis, but if you're in a deep league, right, I think Gabe Davis is a solid start because he might get you those 17 points. Right?
I think right now, Gabe Davis, where he's at, I know he's getting his touchdowns, but they're getting overturned. I think where he's at right now, I think you only play him if you have literally nothing else. Because with John Brown coming back, with Stephon Diggs going against who? And then you have Cole Beasley in the slot. You have three guys automatically ahead of him. You don't start a fourth wide receiver if you can help it.
That's what I'm saying. How often y'all are killing me for Gabriel Davis, but do you have Stephon Diggs on your team? Do you have Cole Beasley on your team? Do you have John Brown on your team? Do you have those people on your team? No, I'm talking about in a deeper league, right? You already have all these starters up there, and you're looking for a waiver wire pickup, and you're looking for that flex position. Y'all keep killing me for Gabriel Davis. Like I've got Gabriel Davis and John Brown and Stephon Diggs sitting on my team, and I'm like, you know what? I'm not starting Stephon Diggs. I'm not starting John Brown. I'm going to start Gabriel Davis. I'm just saying Gabriel Davis could be a really good flex position. And those people that are listening right now, let it be known, let the record stand that I am the only one. No, I'm not done ranting.
We're going through. No, your rant is done.
I'm not done ranting.
Your rant is done.
Let it be known, Buffalo Fanatics, I'm the only one who likes Gabriel Davis. I'm the only one who likes Gabriel Davis.
Look, I like Gabriel Davis. I think he's going to be really good.
Go through the stats.
Okay, fine. I will. Here we go. First week against the Jets, 3.6 points. Second week against the Dolphins, 7.6 points. Third week against the Rams, 12.10. 12.1. I'm struggling. Against Vegas, 9.6. Against Tennessee, 10.8. And then against Kansas City, 1.7. And against the Jets, 2.1. He's not somebody you want in your lineup consistently. I'm not agreeing with Manny here that start Ben DiNucci. That's a wild take by Manny in the comments.
Yeah, he thinks the Cowboys are going to cover. They haven't covered all year.
No, that's also wild. I'm avoiding Gabriel Davis
if
I can help it right now. If there's another guy you can pick up on the waiver wire, as much as I love Gabriel Davis's long-term output, no, you don't. You really missed me. You missed doing this.
Y'all are killing me. What I'm saying is, right, if you need a flex position starter, right? And your options are like Ben DiNucci, right? He's a quarterback.
He can't play in the flex.
You get what I'm saying. He's a quarterback, but you get what I'm saying. Someone no name like that, right? And then you see Gabriel Davis. There was like two, 3 games that you just called out where he had lower points or he had 8 points, right? He would have scored a touchdown if not for a penalty in the red zone, right? So you're telling me if those penalties don't – and I hate playing the what-if game. I understand that the what-if game does not matter, but one day he's going to be consistent, right? You in your flex position, are you expecting someone to score 17 to 20 points? No, you're expecting them to score, 10 to 12 points. And there was a couple of guys – look, okay, we got to stop, all right? Because AK Cash, our new subscriber – has a question. So go ahead, AK. He says, hey, guys, John Brown is on the waiver wire. Should I pick him up for future weeks as the last player on my bench or Brandon Ayuk or Alshon Jeffrey? Take Alshon Jeffrey out and throw him away. Pick up John Brown. Pick up John Brown.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
Pick up John Brown. I like John Brown. I like him. Once again, if you have John Brown in your lineup, he's coming back from injury, but the offense has missed John Brown. Like, John Brown is a key part of the offense. He's a big part of the offense.
I think when it comes down to with that is that John Brown has the rapport with Allen. So even if John Brown, like let's say John Brown is back and he's at like 90% health right now, like he's not fully healthy, but he's still good enough to play. He has the rapport with Allen where I trust that over a rookie with Jimmy G.
Real quick, I've got 2. I want to start with Chris. What up, Chris? I didn't say what's up earlier this morning, but what's up, Chris? He says, I don't know, Casey gave us a big gamble this week, but you are the gambler. You are correct. I am the gambler. Then I want to point out Ricardo Green says, I'm starting Brady over Tannehill. Pitt's defense is too much for Tennessee. Ricardo, Tennessee and Pittsburgh played last weekend. This week they're playing Cincinnati. So if you're looking at something like that,
but start Brady over Tannehill.
Start Brady, but Tannehill's not a bad bet to start. They might just run the ball a lot because they're going to get ahead early, but still they're playing Cincinnati this week. I just don't want you to get into a position where you're like, oh, snap, I should have done this or that. So I just wanted to make that clear for you, Ricardo. But yeah, I like Brown. I'm all about Brown.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm in on that. We got, who do I start? This is from Angel. Who do I start? Allen or Lamar Jackson?
Do not start Lamar Jackson. Start Josh Allen. Roll your eyes.
I wasn't rolling my eyes. I was trying to consider. I was considering my options here.
I'm looking
because I don't know. I think this is a closer discussion this week as opposed to previous weeks.
So
just strictly because Allen has not played his best games against New England.
Yeah,
it's just Bill Belichick against younger quarterbacks. Even though Allen is in his 3rd season, he's still technically a younger quarterback.
Yeah,
that does make me a little nervous, but I would definitely still lean more towards Allen because Lamar just hasn't been playing his best football this year.
Well, not only that, he's playing up against Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh is a 10 times better defense than, say, the Patriots are right now. So when you're looking at it from that matchup, not trying to be a homer. I'm really not trying to be a homer, but Allen has a better matchup this week than Lamar.
Especially with all the guys out.
So, yeah, that's very true. So, all right, guys, we got about 10 more minutes. Make sure you're you're smashing that like button. Make sure you're telling your friends to jump on here. Make sure you're sticking tuned for the remainder of the Tailgate show. Yeah, that's about it.
I think this is an interesting comment here from I'm normal with 3 L's. Statistically, I am. I don't know I'm _normal personally, but I know I am. Statistically, Lamar is going to have a terrible game if we look at his performance in big games. I think that's something that plays into this too. Is Lamar doesn't actually play very well against like the really, really good opponents. He's had a couple of games here and there, but he's got a point. Lamar does struggle against the really good teams, which is semi-normal, but when it becomes a consistent thing, that's something to pay attention to.
He's never let it come back. I don't think. I think that was
never. Yeah, he hasn't.
Never let it come back.
I think they're 0-10 when they're trailing at halftime or something like that. He's never come from behind in the second half because their offense, the way they play, they have to get a lead. That way they can run the ball and control the tempo. That's what they want to do. Ryan Seelbach says Russell Wilson or Joe Burrow.
Russell Wilson.
Yeah. Other weeks, I think it is more of a conversation.
Yeah.
This week, not so much.
Yep. AK Cash says AB's floor in a couple of weeks. This is such a good question. What is his floor in a couple of weeks? I don't think we're gonna see Antonio Brown come back and be the greatest wide receiver ever.
Double digits.
Yeah, I would say double digits. I would say 12 to 15 points.
If you can pick him up, I would do it. If you have a spot to pick him up, like for anybody listening, if you can pick up Antonio Brown, whether you like him personally or not, pick him up because I think he is going to put up some fantasy points and he'll have a couple of big games. Yeah, but double digits consistently.
Yeah, and somebody makes a point. Abel makes a good point. He said there's so many weapons there. Yeah, and they pick your poison. They pick your poison. So
hey, I got somebody knocking at my door real quick.
Oh snap! Who is it? He's probably wondering why there's yelling.
I'll be right back.
Stalk the Ground 23 said Devontae Parker or Mike Williams for the flex. I feel like that's an easy one. I like Mike Williams. We already discussed who's covering Mike Williams is OG Mudia, right? So other than that, man, I really like Mike Williams. Devontae Parker, it's Tua's first start, and I'm worried about Tua. He's playing a very good Rams defense. And I say very good, but I would say, above average Rams defense. But the first person he has to go against is Aaron Donald. So that really makes me worried about Tua. That's why I'm saying Mike Williams for that one. I wouldn't be counting Devontae Parker much this week. At least this week, and figure out what's going on with Tua, right? How does he play? Who is his favorite target? Stuff like that. I would hold up on Devontae Parker. You're muted, bub. Yeah, it's okay.
There we go. All right, I just hopped in on the back end of that, but I agree with that. Devontae Parker worries me this week because, one, Tua's playing and you don't know what his rapport with him is, and Jalen Ramsey.
My boy.
Yeah.
Okay, before we start answering more questions, we got about 8 more minutes, and I want to go ahead and plug Nap's show one more time. It's Nap Knows Bills. Make sure that you like, review, subscribe, all that good stuff on Apple Podcasts. He comes out every Friday. And then, of course, my podcast, which is Buff City. I'm with Manny. Manny has been floating around the comments all day long. Make sure that you like, subscribe, and review our podcast as well. It comes out every Saturday. We talk gambling and fantasy. Nap, you do bold predictions from the fans themselves.
Yes. A lot of fun. A lot of fun getting to interact with them. And if you want to win money, make sure you're listening to Casey's podcast. Make sure you're listening to Buff City because – look, he's had a bad week. Once this year? That's it. Yeah, so if you want to win some money, you're gonna win more often than not if you're listening to Buff City.
Jasmine, what's going on? Evans or Justin Jefferson? So we talked about this earlier in the YouTube show. Probably Justin Jefferson. I like Justin Jefferson. I like Justin Jefferson now because you changed my mind now. And now you're making a face, right? But I like Justin Jefferson because I think there's going to be a lot of golf.
I think I do too. So with Mike Evans, he hasn't been having the season that he's had in years past. He hasn't. I've said rapport way too much this week, but he doesn't have the same rapport with Brady that I think everybody kind of expected him to have at this point. They're still figuring things out there.
Yep.
And as good as that offense is, there's other guys that Brady wants to get the ball to also. I think you got to go Justin Jefferson.
You got to go Justin Jefferson. Real quick, while we're waiting for one more question or 2 more questions, make sure you go to thebuffalofanatics.com if you want to know anything about Bills content, right? We have so many talented writers out there that write constantly. There's 2, 3, 4 articles daily, right? That is on there. So make sure you go to thebuffalofanatics.com. Check it out. I write a gambling piece every Saturday. It drops as well. Then of course I do a fantasy piece as well. But there's other things on there. Like we have actual PAs that go over the injury report as well. So if that's something that interests you and you're curious about these injuries, make sure you go to thebuffalofanatics.com and read about it. There's so much content on it. It's not even funny.
Did you talk about this comment from Darth Vader? Awesome.
No, I haven't.
Derrick Henry is going to go off today. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, 100%. They traded Carlos Dunlap around. So who is going to every Sunday morning we break down the injuries. So one just released, and that's from the thigh doctor himself. It just came out this morning. So if you're curious about the injury breakdown, make sure you go to thebuffalofanatics.com and check that out. Derrick Henry is going to go off today. They traded Carlos Dunlap. Who is being double teamed on that defensive line to take up the blocks, right? Yeah. Who is being double teamed to free up the linebackers? Nobody, right? Derrick Henry is going to go off today. I think they get ahead early, and then they're like, let's just get out of this game without any injuries, and let's just ground and pound.
And that's where I think his stats come into play because their offense is actually very well balanced most weeks where they're mixing it up like 50-50 run pass. But once they have that lead, I mean, he's the type of guy who can bury a lead pretty much because he's just going to get 3, 4, 5 yards of carry at that point and really put the game away. I like these rate my lineup.
I do too, to be honest with you. Abel says, rate my lineup this week. Kyler, Dalvin, Swift, Devontae Adams, Fulgham, Hunter Henry, Ruggs, Saints D. That's a good one too.
I do like that.
Yeah.
I'm going to give that one an 8. Little bit behind the previous one because there was so much star power in the other lineup. This is solid.
Yeah, I hate to say 8 as well, but like.
Oh, you're just following me.
I am following you. Should I trade Devontae Parker? Not yet, Jack. Let's see what Tua does, right?
If you can get a good return from him, I don't think it's a bad thing to do that because he's had a pretty good season, I think, so far, like fantasy wise. If you can trade him and get a good return from him, then consider it. But I would wait.
What do you think Josh Allen versus Cam's numbers are going to be like?
Very different.
Very different. I'm going to say Cam is around 120, 150, and Josh is around 200, 250. I think the weather does play a part in those in those numbers, but I think the Bills can rely on the screen game a lot with Devin Singletary, and they should, right? And that's where Josh might be getting a lot of his numbers.
I think in terms of Josh's numbers, if you look at the game against Tennessee, I think that's probably around what we should expect from him this week, where like those types of numbers, not necessarily that type of play because they never really got themselves into the flow of the game, but those types of numbers where he had like 260 yards, 2 touchdowns. Let's take away those interceptions. But I mean, I don't think that they're anywhere close to the same in terms of numbers this week. Like Cam he's struggling to throw the ball.
Yeah, he is.
He's just struggling so much right now.
Jasmine comes back and she says, I should drop Gurley after this week, right? I don't know. I think you should probably see if you can trade him.
I would either keep or trade him.
Yeah, I think you could get a pretty solid return for him because they do run him. He is their goal line back. So he does give you those points in fantasy. But if you can get a good trade from him, I would do that before I dropped him because as soon as you drop him, there's going to be somebody in your league who's going to be like, ooh, Todd Gurley. So I would try to trade him for sure. All right, guys.
And if you look at his points, like he still has fantasy value. Yep. He's getting double-digit points every single week this year except for 2. Like he has fantasy value. No, there's no reason to just flat out drop him.
All right, guys. So we've got time for Spin 0481 spins. Last question. We got 2 minutes left, so we got one more question. But is this a solid trade? I love trades. I trade AJ Brown, Devontae Parker. I get Mike Evans, Jarvis Landry, Ronald Jones II.
I kind of like it.
AJ Brown.
I like it.
I do too. But AJ Brown is. He is probably the biggest chip right there when it comes to who you're trading. Because Devontae Parker, we got to look at the value there with Tua and all that good stuff. But you do get Mike Evans. You do get Jarvis Landry, who hasn't been Jarvis Landry's on my fantasy team. He hasn't been the greatest. But you also get Ronald Jones II. Now, all right, go ahead. I'll chime in after. Well, the one thing that I was going to say is that you're getting 2 people from Tampa. So you always have to remember in fantasy is that there's only one ball. So that might be another thing to look at. But I do like to trade, and I say go for it.
I think in terms of this trade, if you're making this trade, you're banking on Mike Evans and Tom Brady developing that connection a little bit better because Ronald Jones has been pretty consistent this year. But then also you're banking on Jarvis Landry really, really benefiting in terms of fantasy football from Odell's injury. Which if you don't want to make that trade, but you still want to try and pick somebody up from the Browns, Rashad Higgins is a great pickup too. That would be a good like a under the radar pickup because it puts up numbers with Baker. Oh, Hollywood. All right, guys. That's actually going to do it for us. We're going to get on out of here. I do want to say, man, we appreciate you. There were so many new people in the comments for us today. Some people that we hadn't seen at all. That's awesome. That's wonderful. Tell your friends. Man, we absolutely just appreciate y'all. So we're going to head on out. Go Bills. Go Bills.
Welcome back into the Buffalo Tailgate. I am Jeff Landers, along with Judge Mathis and Mitch. First of all, let me introduce myself, that is, to the Buffalo Tailgate fans. My name is Jeff Landers. I'm out here in Idaho Falls, Idaho, beautiful mountain town, and was in the television industry for 10 years and got an invite from the judge to come on and do a little hosting. So, Judge, thank you for having me. Mitch, first time I'm getting to talk to you. So quickly, give me a little bit about yourself, where you're from, what are you doing right now? And we'll just do quick introductions and then jump right into what could be a funeral for the Patriots today.
Well, Jeff, it's a pleasure to meet you. I'm Mitch Broder. I'm from Rochester, New York, so from the Western New York area, and I'm currently a broadcast journalism student here at Penn State University. So there's a little tidbit about myself. But yeah, let's get right into this conversation because it's a big game day today, man.
Absolutely. It is a big game day. And one of the biggest thing we heard all week, the dynasty is dead. The dynasty is dead. We need to bury them. Go out and prove it. You had your get-right game against the Jets last Sunday. Now you've got the vaunted Patriots coming in, but really it's just the organization that is vaunted. So yes, the dynasty is dead to me, but we need to look and separate the fact that Bill Belichick's dominance over the Bills could still be alive. They are two different things. They are not exclusive, the dynasty and the Patriots organization over the Bills. So, Judge, will it continue today with the Patriots coming into Orchard Park?
Well, here's the thing. I do think the dynasty is dead. I mean, Bill Belichick has even come out this week, and they asked him flat out. They're like, why aren't you adding more players? Why aren't there more veterans? All these things. And Bill Belichick pretty much told the reporters, like, what do you want me to do? Like, we're in such cap hell from the last 20 years that there's nothing we can do. And then you hear the reports all this week about Stephon Gilmore's house being on the market and the New England Patriots being sellers and pretty much offering up almost everyone on their organization in a trade. It makes you really confident that, hey, this is they want to hit the reset button. They could start to be tanking for Trevor soon. However, with all that being said, my concern this week is the weather. And I am not confident of the Buffalo Bills in the trenches. And if it's going to be pouring rain and there are going to be wind gusts, I can honestly picture the New England Patriots throwing the ball 15 times this game, showing us some like 1920s Navy playbook coming out in the wing tee and just smashing the football down our throats this week. And that's my biggest concern. So even though I think the dynasty is dead, I still have a ton of concerns about what we're going to see this afternoon. And we can obviously get into all of that as the pregame continues.
Mitch, thoughts on the dynasty or Bill Belichick continuing his reign of terror over the Bills organization?
I mean, I agree with everything Judge just said. I think that this dynasty is over. I mean, I think the last 3 weeks have proved that. I mean, they can't do anything offensively. And I mean, they have some real holes and don't have a ton of talent. I mean, of course, with this game, I've judged the same thing this morning with the weather. It's definitely going to be leaning towards running the football, which plays way more in the hands of the Patriots than the Bills. So, overall, I do think that this Patriots team, this is finally kind of the end of this chapter for New England. Mm-hmm. But if we're just in the short, term, which is this game today, I am definitely worried about, how Brian Daboll is going to game plan because, I mean, the Bills have not been able to run the football at really any point this season. With the weather being 20 mile-an-hour winds and rain and snow today, it's not going to be it does not play in the hands of the Bills one bit today. So we'll see what they come up with, but in the short term though for today, I am definitely a little concerned.
Okay, so that brings me to my first super chat. Fill in the blank if you're a super chatter. Get in on this. I want to see the Bills attack the Patriots blank. So if you want to get in on the chat, let us know what you think. I want to see the Bills attack the Patriots blank. So, Mitch, we'll start with you. Where does Brian Daboll go with this Bills offense?
I think I want to see the Bills attack the Patriots from the edge. I think that up the middle, they're still pretty stout with Lawrence Guy. They got some good interior D linemen, but I think that Singletary is at his best if there's, they're pulling Morse or Feliciano, getting to that edge and getting him in space. And I think that is something that we haven't seen really at any point this season. I think that that's something they need to get back into this offense because it was really effective last year down the stretch, towards the playoffs. So that's where I think I attack the edge of this Patriots defense.
Attack the edge, Judge. Carl Davis on the defensive line has already been ruled out for the Patriots, so that leaves them with Adam Butler, Brian Cowher, and Lawrence Guy. Dietrich Weiss could be rotated in and out, Judge. Do you agree getting out to the edge of the defense? Stephon Gilmore's out. J.C. Jackson, I have marked as questionable. He might be ruled out today. What do you think about Mitch's comment?
Yeah, I think Mitch is right on the money there. We even have someone in the comment section, Grendel, saying jet sweeps with McKenzie would work. That's another way to get some speed on the edge. Yeah, attack the edge of this defense. But, I mean, at the end of the day, I've seen a couple of people saying, like, a couple of pundits this morning, I think Joe Biscaglia on Twitter said, I want to – you're probably going to see a heavy dose of the RPO today. God, I hope not. Like, that seems to be the inside run game for the Buffalo Bills this year, the RPO. And they've been just awful at it. And maybe it gets better with John Feliciano back, but I just don't know with his first game being back how much better the interior of that offensive line is. So as much as I want to attack the interior, or as much as I want to attack the edges, I am that's why, because of those RPOs. So I would steer clear of those RPOs, get behind Darrell Williams, get behind Deion Dawkins, pull Mitch Morse, get those guys out on the edge, get them moving, and use the passing game. I see that, a couple of other people have mentioned that in the comment section. Use the passing game to sort of run the ball. I'm blanking on the word to use there.
Yeah, you're going to use the passing game to set up the run.
Yeah.
Most run first teams want to use the run to set up the pass. I think you're trying to say use that pass to set up the run.
Yeah, not just that, but replace the running game with the pass in terms of dumping the ball off to your running backs, running screens, things of that nature. You can supplement. That's the word I was looking for. You can supplement your lack of a run game with short passes and quick passes and getting the ball out, in the flats to some of the weapons like Cole Beasley, Zach Moss, Stephon Diggs, and Devin Singletary. Use the passing game as a running game by giving Josh Allen those easy pitches that the guys can take and get yards after the catch.
Before I get to my comment, the Pullout King says, you can tell Jeff was on TV before. The voice of Hump Day has some competition. It's not as good. I like my normal voice that I'm using right now, but I really like to get on the mic over at my high school football stadium out here and, do the big it's third down for the Idaho Falls Tigers. But thank you for that. What I'm going to say is going back to watch the 49ers Patriots game, they did screen passes all over the place, quick outs, get out to the edge. Don't give the defensive line a lot of time to get to the quarterback. So get that ball, get it out to the flats, and that's where they created. And then they tried running right through the tackles too. So it was kind of a mix of both. And I would like to see the Buffalo Bills offensive line, G-Easy. I mean it. If John Felicio's coming back and you say you had a get-right game against the Jets, come out and say you mean it against the Patriots. Run between the tackles with Moss. Get Singletary some passes out into the flats. Get that going, and then you can take the top off the defense. What you think, Mitch?
No, I agree 100%. I mean, I think that's kind of why the passing game has taken a step back. I mean, ultimately, defenses are playing for the for the explosive deep ball, and essentially, the Bills are being begged to run the football, and they can't. And eventually, the only way I think the Bills are going to be able to get the passing game kind of back on that level that we saw the first 4 weeks is run the ball. Get the linebacker and safeties cheating up in the box a little bit and then take it over, the shot over the top of their heads. I mean, that's, what this team's going to have to do because right now, I mean, they're, defenses are just playing soft zone and asking them just to nickel and dime it and run the ball, and they've struggled with that. So something's going to have to give for this Bills offense. I think that the run game has got, a good chance of maybe getting back on track soon. I think today also could be a lot of Zach Moss with the weather. I could see a lot of, Gillum in the backfield. As the fullback, kind of power football too. So we'll see. But I definitely agree. I think that this something's going to have to set up this pass game or this run games. They're going to have to start to help each other out a little bit, instead of leaving each other out to dry.
Yeah, so Scott Blakesley asked, did you cover who's in and out for this game? We will get the inactives.
Shortly.
It's going to be at 9:30 my time, so that would be 11:30 out there in Orchard Park. We'll get the inactives. So, Scott, stay tuned for that. Bills guys and we are a passing offense, 4th in the league. Look, there's no question that we're a passing offense, and we did it in the first 4 games of the season. But all of a sudden, Josh Allen, he had 4 steps forward, 2 steps back. We got to get the running game to give him some help, and maybe we can get that 2 steps forward again from Josh Allen. But in the weather today, Mitch hit on it right at the top of the show, up to 40, 50 miles an hour. That's going to be hard for even Josh Allen to throw the ball in. So he's going to have to maybe get some quick strikes over the middle. Cole Beasley could be a good target for him. You get him on a route where he sets down in that zone. He could have a good big game, Bills guys. And Carl Thoman says Brian Daboll needs to get creative and give Josh many ways to get our backs the ball. And I couldn't agree more. Judge, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, Brian Daboll has to be creative because we saw the Bills play in inclement weather once against the Kansas City Chiefs, and this offense wasn't clicking. So the Buffalo Bills need to figure out, hey, we came out the first 4 weeks and we were this fancy pass-happy offense despite the fact that we play in Buffalo, New York, in an outdoor stadium. And the Kansas City Chiefs came to town and there was inclement weather, and the Buffalo Bills offense didn't show up. So the Buffalo Bills need to figure out a way to make it click, because the Buffalo Bills consciously made a decision this offense or this offseason to go from an offense that, bases itself around the run game and play solid defense to an offense that's going to try to spread you out and score quick. They made that decision. So now they have to live with that decision, and they have to make it work in this inclement weather. I said before, I tweeted yesterday, Josh Allen has to have an MVP performance today. He has to put the nail in New England's coffin. There's no excuses. If you look at the depth chart for the New England Patriots on both sides of the football, it's absolutely pathetic. So I understand the weather today, but Josh Allen needs to put up an MVP performance. Does that mean he needs to throw for 400 yards? No, the weather's not going to allow him to do that. But he needs to have 300 plus yards. That's a combination of passing and rushing. Give me 220 in the air. Give me 80 on the ground. And he needs to score 3 touchdowns. He needs to account for 3 touchdowns, and he needs to not turn the ball over. If he can get us 21 points, if he can not turn the ball over, and if he can get 300 some odd yards, which means we've controlled at least some semblance of possession in this football game, our defense is good enough to stop that pathetic looking offense, and we can win this game.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think that this offense, Josh Allen's definitely going to have a game today. He's not looked great the last 3 weeks. It's kind of, no secret. Everyone's been talking about it. And, obviously, we've talked about this. Weather is not going to allow him to air it out, but they're going to have to definitely get back to scoring some points. And I think if they can get 21, 24 points, I think they can win this game. Like you said, Judge, this Patriots offense, specifically, a receiver, they got nothing. I mean, Jacoby Myers is their number 1 receiver today. I mean, they really, I think that matchup, their offense versus our defense, actually plays pretty well for the Bills. But yeah, Josh Allen is going to have to bring it today. He's going to have to do it, I think, with his feet a lot today for sure. But I think someone actually that I'm kind of curious to see how he gets used today is actually Tyler Kroft, to be honest. I think that he might not be a bad matchup this week against the Patriots. Their linebackers haven't been great. And, he did show some plays against the Jets, albeit it was the Jets. But, that's someone that I'm kind of curious to see how they use him, because I think him and Beasley kind of quick over the middle could be really important today with this weather.
That's a great note to lead us into our first Fantasy 15 question. We're going to do a quick-hitting fantasy topic every 15 minutes of the hour. So it's 11:15 in Orchard Park. Who will have the best fantasy day in Bills Pats? Quickly, Mitch, best fantasy day.
Ooh, that's tough. Best fantasy day. I'm going to go with Josh Allen because of the rushing. We know how much fantasy loves quarterbacks that can run the ball, and if today is going to be a heavy dose of Allen's legs, I could see him putting up some big numbers today. So I'll go with Josh Allen.
All right, Judge. Moving on, we have a super chat comment from Steve Mathis. Any relation?
It's actually my dad, so this is like a throwback. I get a nice little allowance here.
Do you see the Bills leaving Bass on the bench because of weather? Judge, what do you think?
Well, I think that one of the reasons why we drafted him is because he has such a powerful leg. So I can see us not kicking those 50+ yarders. I can see us, especially past the 50-yard line, if it's like 4th and less than 3, going for it, especially with Josh Allen as the quarterback. But I don't think you're going to see despite the wind, I don't think you're going to see like the Buffalo Bills giving up on opportunities for like anything under 45 yards. If it's anywhere below 45 yards, I think you'll see the Buffalo Bills kick it like they normally would. Now, if Tyler Bass goes out there and shanks 2, maybe the Buffalo Bills, in the second half of the football game will be like, okay, we're just not going to kick the football anymore. But I can envision the Buffalo Bills past the 50 doing it. But once you get into that red zone, once you get into that 45-yard type of opportunities, I can't see them passing on the free points. And what I expect to be a pretty low-scoring game, smash that under 40 and a half. Smash that under if you're a gambling person.
And one of the things I think with Tyler Bass, you have to be patient with him because he has an allotment of time budgeted by not only the coaching staff, but by the general manager as well. McDermott is all about that growth mindset. We're in the first 7 games of Tyler Bass's career, and if there's a game where you want him to miss 2 kicks, it's going to be against the Jets. That way, you can get him to right the ship. You can get him to fine-tune those details, and hopefully Boho will spin the ball when he gets the snap, so Bass is not kicking the laces. It's been an issue, so hopefully they've gotten Bojorquez to be able to improve on that. But you're going to have to be patient with Tyler Bass because he's a rookie and because the coaching staff is going to give him as much time as they can to get things right. Now, someone said earlier this week that I really liked the point, and I think it was on a BF podcast. I can't remember the talent who said it. I think it was Tilt who said, if Tyler Bass goes 3 for 4 in one game and 3 for 4 in the next, nobody's really complaining about it. But since he missed 2 kicks in the same game, despite making 6, it's a big deal. So settle down on Bass. The weather will play a factor, but I think you're right, Judge. Anything inside the 50 down to maybe the 40, 35, maybe they go for it on 4th and short just to see if they can get those extra yards, get that drive continuing. So be patient on Tyler Bass. Our next super chat, fill in the blank. I think blank should be the starting cornerback opposite Trey Day. Who should be the starting cornerback today, cornerback, I should say, opposite of Trey Davius White? Hit that like button and give us a comment in the comment section if you have an opinion. Now, I liked what Dane Jackson did, but with Levi Wallace coming back, that's obviously going to be a huge step for Dane Jackson to supplant Levi Wallace. What do you think, Mitch?
Yeah, I think that if Levi Wallace is healthy, he'll probably be the starter opposite Trey White. I think what Dane Jackson did against the Jets was really encouraging to see, especially out of a 7th round pick, rookie, to get that, get that production out of him in just one game. It was impressive, but I think that, we do have to take kind of a deep breath about, Dane Jackson. It was one game. It was against the worst team in the league in the Jets. In the end of the day, it's definitely encouraging. I'm excited to see, what maybe he could be in the future, but I think that what we saw from Levi Wallace, although it was a little frustrating at times, he's played well in his career before. It's not Josh Norman, who I think at this point is kind of proven he's done in this league, I think personally. So I think it will be Trey White, but we'll also see about this Daryl Worley signing. I know he hasn't played great, but that is a guy who's familiar with. Did I didn't sign him. And they came in for a visit. Excuse me.
Yeah. Okay. I was like, whoa.
Yes.
Breaking news, Mitch Berger, the insider.
Coming in with the hot news here. But, but we'll see if that turns into anything. But I think for right now, it's got to be Levi Wallace.
It's that Pagula connection at Penn State filtering the news down to
exactly.
That's your in, man. You're going to become the Adam Schefter of Bills Mafia. Okay. But I will say this. I think that Dane Jackson should get the start today, and in obvious passing downs, they should rotate in Levi Wallace to get his feet back wet. And the reason why I'm saying this, not just start Levi Wallace, is because Dane Jackson is better in run support. He's more physical. He's more of an aggressive tackler. And I think New England's going to run the ball, is going to try to run the ball, 30, 40 times today. So you want the cornerback who is better in run support starting at CB2 today, and that's Dane Jackson. Whether going forward when you play actual offenses in better weather, that's what you want to do. I don't know. But I do know. I think I'd probably prefer Levi Wallace because, as you said, it was one game versus the worst team in the league. But for today's sake, I would say Dane Jackson.
All right. You got a super chatter agreeing with you, Judge. It says –
click the wrong one there, yeah.
Yep. There we go. Dane Jackson, CB2. The Pats have no one at wide receiver. Should be another good game to get him some playing time and see what he has. Now, because he did have that game experience last week, see if it can carry over into this week. Let Levi Wallace, I think this was kind of your point, let Levi Wallace get his feet wet back into game action. They just brought him back. He's been out for a few weeks. Let's see what Dane Jackson has. I agree with the pullout king on that comment. So let's see what else we got down in the comment section. Weather is supposed to stop at game time. I have not checked the weather report, Scott Blakely, so I wish I could help you out on that.
From what I can tell, the winds are supposed to die down a little bit into the 30-mile-an-hour range, and the chance of precipitation went from 100% to, I believe, it's like 70% at kickoff, and then it slowly shrinks as the game goes along down to about 40% in the second half. So if we're looking for fourth quarter Josh Allen, it's when the rain's supposed to kind of stop a little bit. So
Mitch, fourth quarter Josh Allen, what do you expect? We hope to see him, in all four quarters.
I mean, we'll see. Listen, I mean, with obviously Gilmore being out, J.C. Jackson potentially being out. I mean, listen, this Patriots defense is certainly not the mighty unit it was last year, but it's still Bill Belichick, and he's kind of had Josh Allen's number a little bit. I think the last couple seasons. I think that even if the weather is not as bad as we anticipated, it's still, I think, going to be a very physical game. I think it's going to be a pretty low-scoring game. I think that Josh Allen, I don't think we're going to see him explode today. I just don't think that's reasonable to expect. But I do think with Josh Allen, I think if he could just be consistent, not have those quarters where it's like, oh, we're halfway through the second quarter and he has 30 passing yards. I think we can't have kind of one of those type of deals. But if he can just be consistent today, make some good plays, move the ball a little bit, I think that we could see that out of Josh Allen today, especially with Gilmore being out. That's huge. I mean, that is humongous, I think.
I think the consistency, though, Mitch, will depend on the offensive line. Judge, Cody Ford is out for this game. Feliciano's coming back. Does Feliciano go in at left guard and keep Brian Winters at right guard? Do you throw Feliciano in at right guard? And then who do you put at left guard? Because it didn't appear that Ike Butker was really working out. I'm not sure that the coaching staff likes the rest of their options behind Ford and Feliciano, but they've kind of been saddled with guys that they've had to put in there. So that consistency is going to depend for Josh Allen on the offensive line. Judge, what are you doing with those puzzle pieces up front?
Yeah, I'll tell you this. We're not going to get into Quentin Spain because no one wants to see me, Hulk out. I'm still a little salty about the way that they handled the Quentin Spain situation. But I actually was in your line of thinking throughout a poll question at the Buffalo Fanatics on Twitter about, I'd say, I could actually tells me on here timestamps at 8:48 a.m. this morning, so about a half an hour ago, I posted a fan poll question on Buffalo Fanatics. What do you want to see today? Feliciano at left guard, and Winters at right guard, or Butker at left guard and Feliciano at his more natural position of right guard? Feliciano at left guard through 350 votes has 66%. And I would agree with the people here. In my opinion, what I think you're going to see the Buffalo Bills do today is they're going to go with the veterans, despite the fact that Brian Winters is a little banged up. He still practiced all week. I think it's going to be Brian Winters at right guard. It is going to be John Feliciano at left guard. I think that gives you the best it doesn't give you the best offensive line because they're not starting Ty and Secchi. But that's beside the point. They're not going to. They think he's a swing tackle. But that'll give you the best, I think, offensive line that you're going to get with what you have. And then when Cody Ford comes back, that's when you start having the conversation about kicking John Feliciano back to right guard.
All right, just a few more minutes until we get to our fantasy 15s. It would be 9:30. I got to get used to getting back onto East Coast time when I'm doing broadcasts. I haven't had to do it in 10 years. So it'd be 9:30 my time, 11:30. We're going to hit another fantasy 15 question. But quickly, what memory do you want to bury with a victory today? Put the Patriots out of their misery. Let them go try to tank with the Jets with a victory today by the Bills. What memory? I mean, I'm thinking Leotis's fumble, the Sunday Night Football debacle, Teddy Bruschi coming back from a stroke when the announcers forgot the Bills were on the field. That one was a sticking point for me. What memory do you want to put to bed, Mitch?
Oof, that's tough. You know what? I'm going to go with one that maybe is a little off the beaten path here, but how about week 2 back in 2015 after the Bills had just destroyed the Colts, and we all thought with Rex Ryan that we were about to put a statement on the NFL, and I was at that game, and I remember it being a crazy atmosphere. Couldn't start better. Bills marched down the field, score a touchdown, force a 3-and-out immediately, and I remember I was with my dad, and we looked at each other, and we were like, oh my gosh, like we're finally better than the Patriots. And then the Bills got destroyed, and that was kind of that. And I just remember coming to school the next day. I had two friends that are Patriots fans just talking so much smack to me, and I just was miserable the whole week. And for me, that it's just a little moments like that where you're like, man, like, can we just get over this team? Because even those kind of just build up on you over time. So I'll go with something a little different. But that game, I'll never forget that day, because that was a brutal day to be a Bills fan.
Judge?
You hit the big 3 for me. The Bruschi game, yep. The trouncing on Sunday Night Football, and the Leotis McKelvin fumble. I'm going to go with the Leotis McKelvin fumble because I was there. I had season tickets, so I was at the Sunday Night Football stomping too. But we used to, me and my tailgate crew used to go to a road game every single year. And that was the game we chose that year. And I still remember walking out of that stadium and how hard it was, and all the Pats fans just taunting us. And what a miserable experience Gillette Stadium is, because they're just so uppity there. It's ridiculous, but that's besides the point. But I think a couple that we're forgetting. Number one, when we trounced them 31-0 week 1, when we had just freshly signed Lawyer Malloy. And then I believe it was actually week 17. Yep. They beat us 31-0.
That was miserable.
En route to the playoffs when our team sort of nosedived. And another one too. And this is going to sound weird, but I never had more hope as a Bills fan in my 30 years of life than after we beat the New England Patriots with Ryan Fitzpatrick and the Drayton Florence interception. I never had that's the highest I have ever been, other than probably the Miami game and the Andy Dalton pass, as a Bills fan. That's the highest. That's the highest high for me as a Bills fan, being born in 1990. And for that team to give me so much hope, and then for both seasons afterwards to go in such divergent directions, is also heartbreaking, even though it wasn't a game day experience. So there's just so many, but I'll go with the McKelvin. I will go with the McKelvin fumble because I was there, and that was something that will always stick with me.
I got a memory quickly. PJ Ty says 1 minute until inactives. We will get the list.
Don't you worry. I got the phone right here. Don't you worry.
All over it. For me, when the Bills play the Patriots, if something happens in my life around Patriots week, something's going to happen in the Bills Patriots. So the Leotis fumble night, I got a call about my first ever on-air job. It was in northern Michigan, leaving central New York State. So I got a call from a guy I went to St. Bonaventure with that night, Monday Night Football. So I was pumped about having a job opportunity. And then the Bills were winning, and then Leotis fumbles it away. Sunday Night Football debacle. I got elected the station manager of the radio station at St. Bonaventure. Then we go and do that on Sunday Night Football. This week, I get invited by Judge to come on to Buffalo Fanatics, so it's a notable point of something going on. So I just sense something is going to happen today in the Bills game, and I hope it does not trend history. Judge, you got the inactives?
Yeah, I got the inactives. So Jake Fromm is the normal inactive. TJ Yeldon is the normal inactive. Micah Hyde is injured with his concussion, not playing. Josh Norman, hamstring, already announced he wasn't playing. Cody Ford not playing. Vernon Butler not playing. All those are expected. Here is the one that we were not expecting. And again, we talked about AJ Epinesa, I think, in the last hour having to go off. AJ Epinesa is inactive today. So the Buffalo Bills are carrying on their defensive line Jerry Hughes at defensive end, Darryl Johnson, Trent Murphy, Mario Addison. And here's the reason why I expect that AJ Epinesa was inactivated. I think it has a lot to do with the fact that they wanted to carry an extra defensive tackle because they're expecting heavy run. They're expecting heavy run support, and Daryl Johnson is their special teams guy. So Brandon Bryant off the practice squad is active today. So you have Brandon Bryant, Harrison Phillips, Ed Oliver, Quentin Jefferson, and Justin Zimmer. You have 5 defensive tackles you're going to rotate. Whether that's a concern over Quentin Jefferson and his knee injury, whether that's a concern because of Harrison Phillips, and they still think he's not right from that ACL surgery. Something made the Buffalo Bills want to carry a 5th defensive tackle today, and it cost AJ Epinesa a spot on the active roster.
And you said Vernon Butler was out? Just okay.
Hamstring injury.
I'm looking. If it looks weird that I'm looking above my cameras because I have a giant whiteboard with the depths, the lineups on it. And so what I heard from the Patriots is they really like their front 3 on that offensive line. You got David Andrews at center, Joe Thuney at left guard, and Shaq Mason at right guard. So I think you're right in the fact that they want the beef up front and extra defensive linemen because they expect the Patriots to give a heavy dose of Damian Harris, James White, and Rex Burkhead today. Mitch, what do you think about these inactives from the Bills?
I mean, I think that it's definitely, a bit of both of the injuries and definitely with this Patriots run game. I mean, we talked about it this whole show. The Patriots' bread and butter on offense all year has been running the ball. And especially with the weather today, you've got to expect a ton of runs up the middle because that's what the strength of their offensive line is. So I think it's definitely a mix of, got to get, beef on that D line. And also, I mean, you got to wonder too with some of the injuries with Vernon Butler that, they just wanted to make sure that they had something there because that was, to me, I think the biggest inactive for the Bills, even though we knew he probably wasn't going to play. I mean, he's really been, the Bills' only, normal one tech this season. So
I'm absolutely baffled at the New England Patriots inactive list. Can I
Go
sorry, I don't mean to interrupt here.
No.
Here's what really surprises me with the New England Patriots. 2 guys who I expected to be a heavy part of their offense today with all these wide receivers out, and N'Keal Harry and Devin Asiasi and Dalton Keene. They're 2 middle round draft picks at the tight end position, both inactive today. So I'll have to do some research. I don't know if they called up some guys from the practice squad who play tight end. I don't know if they're expecting to just play 8 offensive linemen today. I don't know what's going on, but both Dalton Keene and Devin Asiasi not playing today. That is absolutely crazy to me.
Yeah, I mean, we're probably going to see a heavy set. If you can get 2 tight ends on the field, get that extra blocking. Without Micah Hyde coming in, Mitch, I was thinking, you know what, that's fine in today's game because we have a weather game. We have a team that's strength right now is only running the ball because they cannot throw it without Cam being correct, without having their top wide receivers. So, okay, we lose a safety, but okay, bring in an extra linebacker into the box. You leave Trey Day on an island with whoever you want to, really, and then you leave Poyer over the top of Dane Jackson. So you basically have a cover 1 with just 3 defensive backs, and then you bring in an extra linebacker. So it looks like the Patriots might even be trying to prepare for that with having some extra meat up front if they can get it. But like Judge said, we've got some surprise inactive. So what are you thinking, Mitch? Where are the Patriots going to attack the Bills defense?
I mean, I think they're going to attack right up the middle. I mean, like we talked about, that has kind of been the weakness of this, Bills defense has been the, stopping the run right at the D tackle and linebackers right up the gut. And the fact that, I believe they don't have any O-linemen inactive at all today. So you got to think that there's going to be a lot of extra O-linemen on the field, heavy sets. I think that that's probably going to be New England's game plan today is just run the ball right up the middle in between the tackles because I don't see where else they're going to attack this Bills defense because they don't have anyone on the outsides. Like Judge talked about, I mean, they have, they don't really have very many tight ends active and ready to go today. I mean, you got to think it's going to be a lot of heavy power football sets just right in between the tackles today.
Yeah. Devin Asiasi is out due to personal reasons. And someone in the comment section said they called up a tight end. I don't see any indication of them calling up a tight end. I only see indication of them calling up the receiver, Isaiah Zuber. So Dalton Keene being inactive to me tells me they're just going to be doing the old Rex Ryan and throwing some offensive linemen out there and running some real power sets.
Let's see into the comments section. John Marlowe says we have Dean Marlowe, now spelled differently. So John Marlowe, we do have Dean Marlowe. We also have Jaquan Johnson, who said Bills guys, and we do have that depth at safety. I really do like our depth at safety, but with what the Patriots are going to try to do, I think you got to have that extra beef. And we do have a super chatter coming in. Andrew Miller. Never seen a second-round pick be a healthy scratch so often. Who replaces Hyde, Johnson or Marlowe? Judge, I'm going to give this one to you. Who replaces Hyde, Johnson or Marlowe, or do you bring out Taryn or Saran Neal as that big nickel?
First of all, the answer number one, I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that there wasn't a typical preseason. I think the development and the reps and things are just not there for AJ Epinesa. Another thing I would say for AJ Epinesa is it seems like he lost a massive amount of weight between his time at Iowa and his time in the Buffalo Bills. So it almost appears like he's trying to change his style as a player from more of a power rusher to more of a sort of agile or finesse rusher, which takes some time to figure out. So be patient with AJ Epinesa. That's the first thing I want to say. Number two, who replaces Hyde, Johnson, or Marlowe? I'm going to go with Dean Marlowe. I think that Hyde plays more of that center field type of position, and Poyer usually plays closer to the line of scrimmage. And I think that's more Dean Marlowe's game than Jaquan Johnson. If it was Jordan Poyer out, if the roles were reversed, I think you see Jaquan Johnson. But that being said, I think Marlowe's more the center fielder. I think he's got more game experience. I think you'll see Dean Marlowe filling that Micah Hyde role today.
All right, since we've spent the last 8 minutes on inactives, I want to revert back to our 9:30 fantasy 15, 11:30 out there on the East Coast. I still got to get used to that. Maybe you guys had a waiver wire pickup, the two of you. Who's the best waiver wire pickup this week? Maybe you guys had one. I know I'm going to go with Chase Edmonds out of Arizona, but I wasn't paying enough attention. Edmonds on a bye this week with the Cardinals, so I had to go back to Boston Scott to fill in for Miles Sanders, who's still out. Mitch, waiver wire.
Oof, that's tough. I'm going to go with Travis Fulgham from the Eagles because they clearly have nothing on that offense at receiver, and they have been throwing him the ball. I mean, I think he had 10 targets in like consecutive weeks or something like that. So they've been throwing him the ball a ton, and I've definitely felt the impact of that because I thought I was going to be sneaky picking up Greg Ward off of waiver wire. Instead, he's really not gotten a lot of targets. So I'll go with the other Eagles receiver that's a little unknown, Travis Fulgham, especially in deeper leagues too.
Judge, waiver wire.
I'll say this. If Travis Fulgham is still in your league, you better win your league. Because if he wasn't picked up weeks ago, I don't know what to say. But at the same time, like you're right. Like that guy came out of nowhere and has really been doing some great things for Philadelphia. I'm going to go with a guy that I actually picked up this week because I was a little desperate with some of my running backs on a bye week. I picked up Zach Moss. I think that with the weather today, you could see Zach Moss get somewhere between 10 and 15 touches between the air game and the passing game. And between the running game and the passing game. And you sort of just cross your fingers and hope he does something with it because that's what you do with your waiver wire pickups. So I actually went with Zach Moss this week. I also picked up Henry Ruggs. Again, that's another guy who I don't know why he was available, but he was. And I got Henry Ruggs, and that's another guy, if he's still sitting around in your leagues, to pick up.
I had Henry Ruggs on my roster earlier this year. Now, it's just a standard PPR league, so I had to make some decisions, and he was one of the guys I let go to get some other guys through bye weeks and other injuries. So he really didn't survive my roster because he hadn't come on just of yet when I had to make that decision, and it's one I really do regret. Now, we had talked about burying memories. Mitch, how old are you?
So I'm 21.
You're 21. Okay.
We switch places.
Yeah. Well, in 2 days, I'll say what is the saying? In 2 days, I'm 420 months from being 69. So, but all right, going back to where I was going with that. In 2007, how old were you? I can't do the math off the top of my head.
2007, for that season, I think I was 8 years old. If I remember, I think it was in second grade.
All right, do you remember the Monday Night Football game against the Cowboys?
I don't remember that one. I think that might have been past my bedtime at that age still.
Judge is remembering because I can see
I was there. I was there
too. What section?
333.
Okay, I was 1 over in 332. Was standing in the aisle. Nick Folk goes to make a 53-yard field goal. We get the timeout. Hits it again. Cowboys win the game. The reason I bring that up, Nick Folk, is the Patriots kicker this week. So let's bury that memory again as I drop my pen here. Let's bury that memory with a Patriots player. He has not missed since week 3 of this season. So hopefully the weather can play a little bit of havoc, but Nick Folk has had some good luck in that stadium. How do you think the kicking game is going to affect this game, Judge?
Well, I don't think Nick Folk is the kicker he used to be, because he used to be like NFL elite, and he isn't what he used to be as a kicker. But I mean, to me, I'm more worried about the punters in this game, to be completely honest with you. Flipping that field, Corey Bojorquez, we've seen what he does sometimes in conditions. He tends to shank some punts. So Corey Bojorquez is riding a high in Bills Mafia right now. And I think that high might come down this week unless he shows up and shows out punting the football. So to be honest with you, like maybe the kickers make the difference in this game. But in these weather conditions, I'm always a guy who prefers touchdowns to field goals. And that's the way I prefer to score points. And I think punting the ball and like guys like Andre Roberts in field position could be a heck of a lot more important than the field goal kickers today.
What you're describing is good boho and bad boho. Which one is going to show up for the Bills today?
There's no in between, none.
There's not. Mitch, how do you see the kicking game affecting the game today with the weather? We're not going to be seeing a lot of 53-yard attempts unless it's end of game situation.
Yeah, I think that the kicking is going to be a struggle today, whether it's punting, whether it's field goals. I wouldn't even be surprised with kickoffs, getting that ball to the back of the end zone. It's all going to be tough today. But listen, Bojorquez and Bass are both known for having big monster legs. And this is kind of the type of days, why the Bills, got those guys on their team is you have big legs and we need you to really drive the ball to the wind today. So I think that the kicking on both sides, it's probably going to be all over the place. There's going to be some bombs. There's going to be some shanks. There's going to be some balls that get caught up in the wind. You're probably going to see it all today. So I think I agree with Judge. At the end of the day, how about we avoid all that and just score some touchdowns, not have to worry about the ball, kicking the ball in that weather or punting the ball in that weather either. Because if you just score touchdowns, it doesn't matter. But it's going to be a struggle today, though, I think, for both teams.
Okay, guys, it's about 9:45. It's about 11:45 in Orchard Park. I'm still going to get used to that. Before I let you go, I want to put you on the spot. We're going to do a little helmet of death. All right, so I'm going to pick a helmet out of my Bills helmet here, and you got to tell me whether you're in or out on this team before I let you go. So bucket of death, and if you don't like your pick, you can put it back, but then you're locked in to your second helmet. So, Mitch, you're going to go first. Seahawks have – who do they have this week?
49ers.
Are you in or out on the Seahawks?
Ooh, is that game being played in San Fran or is that in Seattle? I know it doesn't matter as far as home field necessarily, but
if I could get my computer to
it is in Seattle.
It's in Seattle.
You know what? I'll take it. I think Seattle coming off an upsetting loss against Arizona. I think they're going to come out pretty angry and pissed off today. So I'm happy with that. I'll take Seattle. I'll keep them.
All right, Judge.
Oh boy.
And bucket of death brings you the Eagles.
Ooh, against the Cowboys? Oh, I'll take that all day. I'll take that all day. I will take Carson Wentz versus Ben DiNucci. Now, if Ben DiNucci gets benched and my boy Garrett Gilbert gets in the game, I'm in a dynasty league, and I'll tell you what, I picked up. We get 20% of the points from our bench. I picked up Garrett Gilbert in the hopes that like Andy Dalton would have went down, and they would have went to Garrett Gilbert over Ben DiNucci. But if Garrett Gilbert gets in there, the AFL MVP right there is going to make some headway. But as long as it's Ben DiNucci, I'll take the Eagles all day.
We got about 30 seconds. Mitch, give me predictions for today, Bills Pats.
It's going to be a low, ugly, game scoring game for sure. It's going to be physical. But I'll take the Bills. I'll take them 20-14. I think it's going to be a lot of running the ball today on both sides. But I think the Bills just have too much talent for the Patriots to handle. So I'll go 2014 Buffalo.
Judge?
I will go 23-16 Buffalo. The Buffalo Bills score 2 touchdowns. They managed to get close enough to kick 3 field goals, and the Patriots have to settle for more field goals than the Bills, so the Bills take it 23-16.
All right, thank you, too. I'll be right back in a few minutes as we bring on some more guys for the tailgate here on Buffalo Fanatics. Mitch, Judge, thanks.
Thank you.
Welcome back into the tailgate. Thank you to Judge and Mitch for joining me in the last 45 minutes. Next 45 minutes, we got Clay and Nap Knows the Bills. Guys, haven't had a chance to really meet you. It's my first time on with you guys. So I'm Jeff. I'm up here in Idaho Falls, Idaho. Went to St. Bonaventure from Central New York State. Was a Bills season ticket holder for 2 years. So definitely remember the good old days of not being very good back in the late 2000s. Clay, just give me real quick a little bit about yourself. Where are you from?
Yeah, I'm from the southern tier, originally from the Corning, Elmira area. I live in the city of Buffalo now. Been a season ticket holder with my dad since 2011, 2008. I can't even remember at this point. It's been a while. We've worked our way around the stadium at this point, and yeah, that's pretty much it right now.
Nap.
I grew up in Rochester. My entire family is from Buffalo originally, so it was kind of ingrained into the Bills' life right away. And then moved out to Columbus, so I'm out here now.
All right, guys, thank you for that. So just so I can get to know you guys a little bit better, I've teased all week. I have 2 reasons why I think Bill Belichick is ecstatic that the dynasty in New England is dead. And I'll give you number 1. First and foremost, I think it's because he's the type that will hold grudges, and I think he can go into Bob Kraft and say, look what happened because you traded Jimmy G. I did not want this to happen. Now we're in this quarterback purgatory. And number 2, he's doing what the Bills did in 2018, reset. Bill Belichick has said, we're in cap hell right now. We have to get out of this. So he's going to use 2020 to get out of that cap hell, get rid of the past, the dynasty, and so he can do it all over again. Because if you take 2 goats away, or if you have 2 goats and you take 1 away, you have a 2-4 Patriots team that still has the greatest head coach of all time. I think he wants to prove that he can do it all over again, get this Patriots team back to the promised land. But it's going to take some work through 2020, and I think he's glad, last 20 years are behind him. What do you think?
Clay, you want to take that first, or you want me to?
Yeah, sure. I'll start with that. I definitely agree with kind of proving that, hey, we shouldn't have gotten rid of Jimmy G. When that happened, I think we were all pretty surprised that had happened because Tom Brady was already getting up there in age. I think he was already, around that 40-year-old mark. So to see him get shipped off like that, it was pretty surprising. And now, they had to have Cam Newton step in, and he hasn't been. I don't think he's as good of a an all-around quarterback as Jimmy G is. But what was the other point you made there? The second point on why it was
He wants to do it again. He wants to use 2020 as what the Bills used in 2018. The Bills used 2018 as almost a throwaway year. Develop your young prospects, get us out of cap hell, and go forward in 2019. I think he wants to do that again using 2020, and he can say, "Here's our quarterback situation. Give me all the power to make the decisions." Bob Kraft, you don't get to say no trades anymore.
Right. Yeah, I definitely think that he is kind of hitting the reset button at this point, just because he wants to go and get a quarterback in this year's draft. There's probably a guy he's got his eye on. I don't think they're going to be able to get Trevor Lawrence, because if he does go into the draft, he's going to be the number 1 pick. And I don't think the Patriots are going to be that low. I think the Jets at a certain point will start to intentionally lose games if Trevor Lawrence declares for coming out of the draft, because he's going to be a franchise changer at the quarterback position. But I definitely think there's probably other guys that Belichick has his eye on, and I think he might kind of want to prove to the world that it's not just Brady, it's him, and that he can do it again. And so I think that might be kind of a proving point for him.
Nap, what do you think?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think what it comes down to for Belichick is ego. And I mean that in a good way and a bad way at the same time, because in a sense, like, you don't have the success that he's been able to have in New England over the last 20 years if you don't have that ego of, like, I know what I'm doing more than anybody else does. I can teach everybody how to do what they're supposed to do better than everybody else can. I'm going to make smarter moves than everybody else can. And that ego is the reason why they have had the success they've had. But at the same time, that ego is also the reason why there was a rift there and why Brady eventually wanted to leave, because he was like, look, I want to do things my way also. And they didn't end up seeing eye to eye. So I think it is, at a point where New England is hitting that reset, and Belichick's like, look, I've done this with one quarterback. We don't have the team that I need. We don't have the salary cap flexibility at the moment. So we're just going to hit reset, and I'm going to do it all over again. I think he's at that point right now.
All right, guys, since we brought you on right at the 11:45 mark, I want to backtrack and make sure we hit our fantasy 15 minutes, a quick hitting fantasy topic every 15 minutes. Who will be QB1 this week? Nap, let's go with you. Who's going to be QB1?
Russell Wilson. I think when I look at the 49ers defense, they're good, but, and I said this during the fantasy football hour, they're not as good as they looked last week. And Seattle's offense is just insanely talented. And I think Russell had a bad game last week where he had a couple of really bad interceptions. I think he bounces back this week and just really puts it on him and continues his MVP campaign.
Clay?
Aaron Rodgers for me. Aaron Rodgers and the Packers going up against a really weak Minnesota Vikings team. I think he's going to ball out. It doesn't matter who's on the team with Aaron Rodgers at any given point. He can ball out. And he's, like I said, that Minnesota team is real weak right now. They're also kind of in that reset mentality. So I think Aaron Rodgers is probably going to have a big game this week.
All right, I'm going to throw one out there for you who's going to be able to do it blindfolded, and that's going to be Patrick Mahomes against the Jets. I don't really think I need too much of an explanation this week on why Pat Mahomes is going to be able to take on the Jets. And I think he could throw some of those no-look passes, maybe throw some behind the back, LeBron James style around the back. So those, I think, are our QB1s this week. Now, we talked a little bit about the inactives earlier in the show. And one of my questions is Trey Day going to be following anybody for these Patriots wide receivers? They're so depleted. Do you have him follow one and take away one, or do you just have him mix it up? Or maybe you have him play on the left side of the defense because Cam hasn't been able to throw to the right. What do you guys think, Nap?
So I actually talked about that on my podcast on Fridays, that Cam has only been throwing to the left side at the moment. So why not put Trey over there, just shut down that side and make Cam throw to where he seems to be uncomfortable throwing. In terms of Trey following people, he doesn't normally really do that just in general in this defense, the way they kind of operate. They put him on one side. They put, this week it's Levi, or previous week's Josh Norman or Dane Jackson, whoever it is, and they just kind of let them sit on their sides. So I don't think he follows anyone around. I would love to see them try and put Trey over on that side to lock down the left side of the Patriots offense, though.
If you got an opinion on this, guys, hit that super chat. Make sure you get your comment up. Hit the super chat on this one. Where does Trey Day play? Clay, what do you think?
I think he's going to play exclusively on the right side. That's since there's no one really to follow around. He's a right side corner. That's where early on in his career, that's where they kept him, and they didn't move him around back then either. So I think he's probably going to stay on that right side. Even though Cam throws to the left, he's going to have to keep throwing to the left today because Trey's going to be on the other side of the field. So I think they're gonna keep him over on the right side. That's where he feels comfortable, and whoever the other guy is, that's going to be in that initial in that position, whether it's Wallace or Jackson, they're going to have to step up and make sure that area is locked down.
Now, I know I'm looking up at my position board on my wall, and the big nickel cornerback, are we going to have a Taron Johnson game with the run-heavy Pats? I know people have been knocking Taron Johnson's pass play this season, but he's almost always been really good at diagnosing the run and shedding the block to get to the ball carrier. What do you guys think? Taron Johnson in this game, Clay?
Yeah, I think we might see a little bit of Taron Johnson. I think they might even, I mean, it all depends on what other guy they put at safety, but we might see, another kind of a bigger safety, or, maybe we see a little bit of Saran Neal get in some action in the game too, because he's a little bit of a bigger, guy that can play that nickel spot as well. So I think, Taron Johnson has been good in the run historically. We did see him get burned a lot in the pass game, especially, that Titans game was pretty terrible, and that kind of triggered, a switch at that position. And kind of sad that Cam Lewis is injured and he's not going to be able to play, because I liked what I saw from him. He was really aggressive and playing the run as well, especially against a big running back like Derrick Henry. But I think we could definitely see some Taron in there, but I don't think he'll be in there all game. I think it'll be a healthy rotation for that if they do keep that nickel defensive back in there.
We got a comment here from Peter J516. I think Trey needs to play the left side. I get Trey is comfortable on the right side, but the key is making Cam uncomfortable. And I think not only is the Bills defense making Cam uncomfortable, but the results of COVID-19 are making Cam uncomfortable. It seems like he's been in this haze since he went out with the virus. How do the Bills take advantage of that, make him not only uncomfortable but confused? How do you continue that trend, Nap?
You stop the run. I mean, if you can stop the Patriots' run and you make Cam throw the ball, that's going to do the job right there. Cam has struggled throwing the ball every single game this year except against the Seahawks. So if you can make him beat you with his arm, that's going to give the Bills' defense a big advantage. And I think just to go back to the previous topic with Taron Johnson, this has the potential to be one of his best games of the year, if not his best. So him playing well and whoever else is in that big nickel role for the Bills playing well, I think that's going to go a long way to being able to slow down the run and force Cam to try and beat you with his arm.
All right, Clay, I'm looking at the other side. We brought in on the inactives, we discussed that the Bills had 5 defensive tackles active. Do we see a heavy rotation of defensive tackles, or are we just looking for depth in case maybe you rotate series, rotate plays if you can? Because we expect a heavy dose of Damian Harris, James White, and Rex Burkhead between the tackles.
Yeah, I think it's going to be not only a rotation, but also kind of who's got the hot hand, who's playing well. I think when they activate a whole bunch of guys like that at that certain position, because they're expecting heavy run between the tackles, they just want to see who's going to come out and play, who's going to go out there and hit somebody in the mouth. That guy's probably going to get more snaps for the rest of the game. But kind of going back to the Cam thing with stopping the run game, Nab nailed it. We got to stop. We got to make him throw the ball, because that's where his weakest point was. And like he said, the only game that he had where he was passing the ball well was against the Seahawks. And that was when he had Julian Edelman bailing him out on a lot of passes that were, a little bit, kind of outside, a little bit over the top. Julian Edelman was making some really good catches that game. So, he doesn't have anybody to throw to. So, and because he's had those accuracy issues and that playbook doesn't seem very diverse, if you can stop the run, they should have 8 guys in the box almost the whole game. And I think they should really be like, if you want to win, you're going to have to pass the ball in this terrible weather on us.
All right, it is just past noon. We are less than an hour away from kickoff in Orchard Park as the Bills are hosting the Patriots organization. I always want to say vaunted Patriots, but we've heard all week that the dynasty is dead. But since we're at the top of the hour, I want to get our Fantasy 15 question in. Quick hit. We'll start with Clay. Who will have the best game on your roster this week, Clay?
Hopefully somebody. my team's not looking great at the moment. The guys are always saying, hey, we need an extra guy to talk fantasy this week, and I'm like, don't put me in. That's a bad idea. My team's not doing great right now, so I'm hoping for anybody to get above 20 points, and I'll be happy, especially since I'm playing the top guy in my league this week.
Nap, who are you going with on your roster?
Going with George Kittle. I was going back and forth between him and Russell Wilson, because I do have Wilson in my league, but going with George Kittle, like that Seahawks defense is struggling right now, and he has the potential to have like 100-yard 2 TD game against them because he's the best tight end in the league, and there's no reason why he can't take advantage of a very, very weak Seahawks defense.
Peter J 516, quick question. What do you guys think Allen's stats look like in this horrible weather today? Before I get to that one, I just want to say Tyler Lockett got me 56 points last week in a blowout win over my wife's team. So thank you, Tyler Lockett. Hopefully he has another good game this week before falling off next week in Orchard Park. So that's the guy I want to have a big game. Back to Peter J. Quick question. What do you guys think Allen's stats look like in this horrible weather, Nap?
Is the weather going to be as bad as some people have said? Like, I'm looking at a weather app right now, and I'm looking at rain and 20-mile-an-hour winds. So if that ends up being the case, then we could see 275 yards passing, 2 TDs. But if it ends up being that 40 to 50 mile per hour wind, then we're probably looking at a sub 200-yard passing game unless they really get things going in the screen game.
The screen game and then the jet sweeps with McKenzie just flip it out there for him. Clay, what do you think Allen's going to do?
It's so hard to tell because Dable, going into pregame, we're always like, oh, this is going to be a factor. This is going to be a factor. And Dable just doesn't care. Dable's going to do what he wants to do. I think we could still see some big passes. I liked what I saw last week with the game plan and getting Beasley involved early in the short game, which is what they should have been doing for a long time now, because if they can't get the run game going, they need to get Beasley involved underneath. I think Diggs could have a big game underneath as well, because we haven't really seen his name as much. But I think if we get him involved on some routes where really we need to be throwing routes that Allen can put some zip on the ball, because there's a little bit of wind going on. I don't think we're going to see a lot of over routes and touch passes, maybe a couple deep shots where it's just a jump ball to Diggs and, he puts it up there and says, go track it and catch it, because who's he facing? Who's going to contest that? If he's in single coverage, I think he can go up and get the ball on anybody that's on the Patriots active roster right now on that defense. But I mean, other than that, I think Beasley and Diggs, it's a game for them to kind of really step out. And John Brown's back, right? So, I still think he could have a good day passing. I don't think the weather's going to be that much of a factor. The Bills wide receivers had some practice catching the ball in the rain against the Chiefs a couple of weeks ago. And so, I think they might be ready for it this time. And I think Dable still is going to want to come out and run and play his type of game. And this year that's been very pass heavy, and he's still been, letting Allen chuck that ball deep.
I really think he can have a good game, because John Brown is kind of that linchpin for the wide receivers. Without him, we've seen defenses target in on Diggs, and then that opened up Beasley last week, had a 100-yard game, and then Gabe Davis has had his chances. But I think John Brown really stresses the defense when he's on the field with Stephon Diggs. Now, if weather is going to be a factor today, I think this is one of those days because you have the weather, you have a Patriots team that wants to run behind their center and 2 guards. That brings me to my super chat fill in the blank, the next one that I have. If you're a super chatter, get in on this one. The Bills missed Star Lotulelei blank. Fill in the blank, Clay.
So it was the Bills missed Star Lotulelei blank?
Yeah. How much did the Bills miss Star Lotulelei?
I would say a lot. When you're watching the game on Sundays, it doesn't look like Starr's making a big impact because, he's not getting that many tackles. He might not be getting a lot of sacks. His stats might not look crazy, and because they're not. But he does have a huge role in the defense. And going back, I know Cover One went back and watched a lot of his film this week as well. He's a big dude and he can take up the double teams. And that's been the biggest problem. I've been harping on that all year. There's no one in the center of that offense that can take up the double teams and keep the linebackers clean. And Starr was that guy before. And I think that's why we've seen kind of a bigger drop off in Edmonds' play this season, is because there's no guy up there to help him out like Starr was doing. So I think he's kind of the unsung hero of the defense, and people are realizing it this year with him being out.
Yeah, we got a comment in here that I like. Spin 0481. Starr opted out to show everyone his true value. And at the beginning of the season, I thought maybe he was just testing the waters of retirement. He's been in the league long enough. I wonder. But then you see guys like in baseball, I know it's a different sport. A-Rod sat out a year and then came back like a monster. I'm wondering if that could happen with Starr here. Maybe get a fresh contract out of it or a reworked deal. Knapp, what do you think the effect of Starr's absence will be on the defense today?
I mean, I think it's going to be what it's been all year, right? Like, he's the type of guy who he does the gritty work. He does all the work that you don't notice really when you're watching games or looking at the stat sheet, because he doesn't show up on the stat sheet. But when you're watching games, it just looks like he's getting blocked all the time, when really he's creating those openings for other guys to make plays. So we don't have that guy on the defensive line who's really doing that as consistently as he did. Not to say that he was perfect all the time. Obviously, there's things that he could have done better. But without somebody playing that one-tech role the way that he did, we've seen it. This defense struggles to get pressure and sometimes to stop the run also. But I think right now what we're looking at is a defense that kind of maybe found their edge last week. So maybe they're able to kind of put it together without him a little bit, not necessarily to the effect that they did in that second half, but I think that they're probably going to be able to put the defense together and play with an edge. And they know it's the Patriots, right? Like, you have to beat the Patriots to have respect in the AFC East, even if the Patriots aren't a very good team right now. So I think that despite missing him especially in the run game, I think the Bills are still able to slow down the run enough today.
All right. Before I get back to the defense catching its edge, I want to throw this one up there. Elliot Eisler says, true story. There's a band out there that all dress like Ned Flanders, and they're called Oakley Dokley. So that's a shout out to my name. My name's actually Jeffrey Landers, but I went by Flanders all the time in high school. So Elliot Eisler, shout out for the Ned Flanders reference. But I think you're right, Knapp, that the defense caught its edge. Last week, we went into the game on a skid, and then all of a sudden at halftime, something flipped. And after the game, I'm going, okay, that was more reminiscent of a 2019 defensive performance where they come in, they give up a drive, maybe give up some points in the first quarter, but then it was lockdown. They figured it out. They locked them down, and that's what they did with the Jets. 4 yards in the first half against the Jets. Now, the Patriots are not the Jets, although I hope after this game we can put them into a competition with the Jets for the basement of the AFC East. So I really like what you said about the defense catching its edge. Hopefully they can continue that coming up here, but I really – 5 defensive linemen. Do we see any of A.J. Klein, Milano coming off that pec? I'm really concerned about that second level of the defense. Milano with the injury. Edmonds has not been the same. We really don't know truly what's up with Edmonds. He's alluded to a little bit, but if it's a mind game in his third season, and then Klein really has not been that depth type of guy that we had in even a veteran presence in Lorenzo Alexander. What do you guys think about that second level of the defense with Klein, Edmonds, and Milano? Clay.
The linebacker position's been really weak. I mean, Tremaine Edmonds is still a good linebacker. There's definitely some times where he's been kind of timid this year, and he seems a little flat-footed sometimes. I'm not sure if that has to do with the injury, because to me that injury just seems like it's something that has to do with, it's a pain tolerance thing. It doesn't seem like it's probably not going to get that much worse because he's been playing every week, but it probably is hurting a little bit every time he hits somebody. So I think that might be affecting him a little bit, but AJ Klein's been pretty bad. I get excited when he makes a good play. So it's like, oh my God, he made a play. Thank God. So, that just kind of shows how bad he's been for the rest of the, in every other play. And yeah, I mean, Andre Smith is active this week. They've been trying out new guys, and there's the Darren Lee acquisition as well. So they're trying to figure something out because it's not working right now. Especially when Milano's on the field, it's a different group, it's a different feel. Especially with the way that Milano is able to help out Tremaine Edmonds and make him feel more confident in what he's doing, because he doesn't have to worry about the guy next to him making a mistake. So, having him on the field is so important in its own. But yeah, when he's away with the injuries, there needs to be another guy over there that needs to step up, and we just haven't really seen that yet.
I think we were promising. We had a promising thing going with Terrell Dodson, and then he goes out onto IR. We got a super chatter, Solar 14. I think y'all blocked me on Instagram. I see y'all on Facebook, but not Instagram. WTH. I'm the new guy. I'm going to wash my hands of this one. Say, I'm sorry. I don't know what's going on with that, Solar. But going back to the linebacker second level of the defense, we had Terrell Dodson, who really started to flash. Nap, do you have a bold prediction in this game concerning that second level? Because if our front 4 or 5 can't get it done, it's going to be on that second level.
I don't have a bold prediction specifically with this game. I think Tremaine Edmonds probably just plays normal, like average normal, and that's good enough today. That would be better than what he's been doing. So I think if he can do that, that's going to really solidify that second level. Just him playing a normal average game. He doesn't have to go out of his way and make a ton of crazy plays. He doesn't have to force a ton of turnovers. If he just gets to his spot and makes the stops that he's supposed to make, that's all we can ask of him. But he's been it looks like he's been playing uncertain in himself. And that might be because of the injury. That might be because of something else. I don't know. But if he can do that and then Milano gets enough snaps, because we saw last week how much Milano actually does impact this defense. If he can get his snaps, I think that the second level will be good enough. I'm not going to go out of my way and say that they're going to be great, because we've seen them struggle enough. But if we can just get them to be good enough, that's all we can ask for today.
All right, guys. Now let's flip it back onto the other side of the ball. Bills offense versus the Patriots defense. They play a base 3-4. I'm looking at Chase Winovich, and I really don't know a lot of the other guys. I'm writing out my whiteboard this week, and I'm going, I don't know this guy. I got to do my research here. Just a lot of names. Their opt-outs really hurt that side of the ball more than their offensive side. So can the Bills get into that second level, and who are going to be the guys to get those maybe 5-10 yard catches, or maybe some of those screen guys to get out on the edge? Who's going to get to that second level today for the Bills? We'll go with Clay.
Yeah, so I think it's going to be Beasley and Diggs. Beasley, we saw last week, he got a ton of targets in that mid-level range, that 5 to 10 yard range, and that was awesome. I would love to see that every single game, because I think he's an underutilized asset to the offense, where he can get open all the time underneath. And a lot of defenses have kind of figured out that, hey, if we drop 3, or if we drop our guys back a little bit further and we take away the deep ball, they're a little bit confused as to what to do, because that's how they were getting all their yards in the first few games there of the season. So, get Beasley the ball early. That's what needs to happen, because we saw how much he was able to hurt the Jets last week. And I think Diggs can get involved in that short game too, because he's been able to do that before, and his run after catch ability is really something special. And we haven't seen much of it just because of the types of routes that he's been running. He hasn't really had much of an opportunity to do any kind of run after catch ability. But yeah, I think those are probably going to be pretty big. We might see a little bit of tight end action from Tyler Kroft. I think he had a pretty good game last week. And then I'd love to see more running back screens. We haven't seen enough of those, and we need to get those running backs the ball out in some space.
I agree. I think we could have a game from Kroft if we get him used properly, but it is now 12-16 out there on the East Coast. Fantasy 15's quick hitting topic. Who's going to have a tough week this week? Who's not going to be producing? We'll go with that.
Oh, who is not going to be producing? I'm going to roll with a defense here. I think the Saints are not going to produce defensively this week because they've struggled a little bit. And oddly enough, I think the Bears are going to be able to move the ball against them and put up probably like 20 points against that defense, because the Saints defense really just has not played that well. And I think it matters more that they're missing Michael Thomas than people think. I know he doesn't play on defense, but he's not there to be a part of that ball control offense and like get a ton of first downs for them. So if that offense doesn't move the ball enough right away against a pretty good Bears defense, then the Bears offense could possibly get going a little bit.
Clay, who's not going to produce?
I'd say maybe I think the Steelers wide receiver group might have a little bit of trouble today. They're going up. It's a big division game for them against the Ravens. And they have a pretty good defense. The Ravens do, and they got a lot of good defensive backs out there. So I think we might see a little bit of struggle from the Steelers wide receiver group. Although they're so explosive that I can't say all of them. You might see two guys do bad and one guy still do well because they've got kind of a three-headed monster over there with their wide receivers, and one of them could always break out no matter what.
I'm going to go out on an edge and say Zeke Elliott's not going to have a good game because the Eagles don't have to concentrate on anything except for Zeke. You're going to have to refresh my memory. What's the name of the Cowboys starting quarterback?
Ben DiNucci.
Ben DiNucci. Yeah, you're going to concentrate on Zeke. We got a super chat here coming in from AK Cash. Allen had two aha throws last week. It was the one to Kroft and the needle threader to Bees over the middle. I think we're going to be treated to more of those against zone in future weeks. Clay, you're the X's and O's guys here. A zone from Allen in future weeks with the aha moments. AK Cash with the comment.
Yeah, so like I said earlier, the kind of what the defenses were doing early this season against the Bills was we're going to cover them man-to-man because Josh Allen is an inaccurate passer. So let's cover these guys man-to-man, and we're going to make him have to throw accurate passes. And that's exactly what he did for those first 4 weeks. So then, defenses started to say, oh, we can't cover him. We can't cover these guys man-to-man anymore. We got to drop back into some zone. And we saw the Titans were the first team to do that and do it successfully. And they started dropping their guys back. They were playing a lot more zone. And I think the strategy at that point, since they saw how explosive that Bills offense can be, is we got to keep everything in front of us now. So let's all, drop back. And since the run game is virtually non-existent for the Bills this year, it makes it a lot easier to say, especially to your linebackers and your safeties, hey, you can take a few extra step backs because they're not going to be able to run the ball effectively anyway. So make sure that Josh Allen doesn't get, isn't able to get those big completions. But Allen is a very smart quarterback. He knows how to make his reads well. And I think we've seen him do pretty well against zone in the past. And especially last week, I think almost every throw to Beasley was right in that kind of, Beasley sits in the zone and Allen hits him. And I think that was probably a good chemistry builder for those two guys against his own defense, because and I think we've seen a couple throws from Allen too to guys like Gabriel Davis, who he doesn't have as much chemistry with, where he's trying to put it into a certain spot and Gabe isn't really sitting where he thinks he's going to sit. But I think Cole Beasley kind of has those true instincts of where to sit in the zone, which is why I think he's kind of the guy that needs to be targeted in situations like that. And so it was, good point to bring up there that it's kind of like, oh, we're figuring this out now. Now we know how to beat the zone too.
Shout out Zach Gabby, new member here to Buffalo Fanatics on the Tailgate. Thanks for joining us. Hit that share button. Spread the word, guys. This is for fans by us fans. That's what we are. We're just fans out here having a good time. Bills Patriots, we're 40 minutes away from kickoff, guys. We got about 10 minutes left in our show. I asked this of the previous guys I had on. Elliot Eisler, Ed Oliver coming for Cam this week. I really think you throw back to last season when the Bills went down to Carolina and they had that little hubbub in training camp with Cam Newton basically calling Ed Oliver small. So I think Ed Oliver will have a field day trying to get after his man Cam. But I want to get back to what I had asked the previous guys. Big picture, what memories are we burying at the Patriots funeral today? The big one for me, I think, was Leotis' fumble on Monday Night Football to open 2009. Nap, what do you want to put to bed?
That's a really good one. I have one. I can't remember what year it was, but it was a snow game, like late in the season, winter. And I remember the Bills going up 21-0 and then just getting trounced the rest of the game by the Patriots. So I'd like to put that to bed. Like, when we get a lead, let's hold that lead, and then let's just bury the Patriots like we should.
Clay, what memory do you want to bury?
For me, it's not so much of a memory; it's more of a feeling, because I feel like for most of my life, when it's Patriots week, when you're going into the game, it's, oh man, I hope we can win this one. Like, we're gonna have to really go all out and play as hard as we can, and then if we do win that game, that is insane. And it's like, the best thing to happen that year, no matter what happens for the rest of the season, pretty much. I want to put that feeling to bed. I don't want it to feel like when we go into a game against the Patriots that we're probably going to lose. And when we beat the Patriots, I don't want it to feel like it's, some big cause for celebration, because I feel like at this point in time, it shouldn't be. The Patriots team that's going out on the field today is not the same Patriots that we've seen for the last 20 years, and it should be expected that the Bills win the game at this point. And so that I want that kind of that overlying fear of the Patriots to kind of be put to bed.
In the movie the Catch Me If You Can, he says, why do the Yankees always win? And it's because the other teams can't stop staring at the pinstripes. That's kind of what you're bringing to me. So when the Patriots, the last time I made it to the Ralph was the Monday Nighter against the Patriots in 2018. And as soon as the Patriots came out, it was like, there's the silver helmet. It's just an aura about the organization. And they've had a dominance against the Bills for the last 20 years. And let's put that to bed. I completely agree with you, Clay. Now, we got about 7 minutes left in our show. We're going to do bold predictions coming up. I know Nap's got some things to say, bold predictions, but I want to get you guys in on the bucket of death. The survivor pool, I'm going to pick a helmet. You can reject your first one, but you're locked into your second if you do that. So, Nap, I'm going to start with you since you're on the top of my screen. And going around the NFL, Nap. You got the Chicago Bears this week. Let me see who the Bears are playing.
It's the Saints.
The Saints. So you want to put it back in, or do you want to roll with the Bears on the survivor pool?
I'm going to put it back in. Let's take my chances.
Not a Nick Foles fan?
I actually like them, but I don't like them enough to roll with them in a survivor. So hold on.
Rams.
I'm in.
Rams are.
Yeah, I like that.
Let's see. Rams are at the Dolphins. Tua's first start.
Yeah, the Aaron Donald might just end up having a field day against Tua his first start. Then that offensive line, I don't know how they're going to find an answer for him specifically, and then add in the fact that Jalen Ramsey's covering Devontae Parker. Yeah, Devontae Parker. I just don't know how this ends up going well for the Dolphins in Tua's first start. So I like that. Give me the Rams.
Give me the Rams because we already beat them, and the Dolphins could use another division loss. All right, Clay, here we go. Here's your pick. Your helmet is going to be the Dolphins. Throw it back?
Yeah, I think I want to put that one back. To his first game, it's too much of a risk to say that they're going to beat that. Especially that's a good defense that they're going up against.
It is.
All right, let's see. Clay, you're locked in. Oh, bro, I'm sorry. You are locked in with the Dolphins.
I guess it was meant to be.
So the two of you. All right, I haven't done this yet, so I'm going to pick one here. Not looking. The Packers. Who are the Packers? I just go scroll.
They got the Vikings.
The Vikings. Oh, I'm locking in with the Packers. That one, the Stephon Diggs-less Vikings. They're 1-5 on the season. This one's in Green Bay. Packers are just too good. I don't think that's too much of a question. So I will take that, and I will apologize to Clay for getting Tua and the Dolphins here. So that is our survivor pool for the BF tailgate. We got I think it was Mitch with the Panthers. Judge had the Falcons. Nat takes the Rams. Clay gets the Dolphins, and I get the Packers. So it is 10:26. We're 34 minutes away from kickoff. Let's get into the bold predictions, and that is Nap's specialty. Nap, bold predictions. Bills, Patriots, Orchard Park, 1 o'clock kickoff. Bury this dynasty.
So do you want me to give a couple of bold predictions? I can give you two of them right now. If you
Go
want.
for it.
All right. So the first one, I have Beasley going for 10 catches, 100 yards, and a touchdown. So back-to-back weeks with double-digit catches and 100 yards. He doesn't do that very often. I think he's only had that type of game maybe like 2 or 3 times for the Bills. Like he's normally in that 7-catch range, 60 to 70 yards. But I think that despite the weather, he has the potential to have a big day because he has to get involved for this offense to have early success. So I'm going with that. That's my first one. And the second one that I have is Tyler Bass makes all of his kicks, whether it's a field goal or an extra point. He's going to make all of them.
I like that. If we can get three extra points and a field goal, that's 4 kicks. That's not too bad. Clay, what do you got?
My bold prediction is the Patriots do not score a point today. They are not going to get on the board at all. Cam is not going to be able to pass the ball. They're gonna stop the run and force Cam to pass it. I think the Bills defense hit the reset button last week. We saw how well they did against, albeit not a very good Jets offense, but Sam Darnold was back playing well. Denzel Mims was playing well. They had weapons that they were able to move the ball with in the first half. I think the Bills are going to come out and make a big statement in the AFC East and shut the Patriots out.
I love it. Here's my bold prediction, and this is what I wanted from the Bills going into Tennessee, and it's what the Saints did to Buffalo 3-4 years ago when they came into Orchard Park. They got into the point where they were just going, we're running the ball until you can stop us, and that's what I want the Bills to do. I want Singletary and Moss have 100 yards each. Bold prediction here, whether it's passing or rushing, you can have them both with combined 100-yard games. Get them out into the flats, get them between the tackles, and it's because we got Mongo Feliciano coming back to this game. Rico said it earlier in this week. Let's be nasty. Let's be nasty with this team. That's what John Feliciano brings to this offensive line. He's going to bring that identity, and I think Singletary and Moss are going to benefit greatly from it. Now, does he play on the right side, right guard, or does he play left guard? Where is he going to play? Mentality-wise, it doesn't quite matter where he goes because he's going to bring that nastiness to this game. So we got our bold predictions in. We got a couple of minutes left on this show. Clay, do you have a score prediction for us?
Yeah, I predict the Patriots aren't going to score any points, so I got to say that they're going to score 0 here. I'll probably say 24-0. I think the Bills are going to get on the board a few times. Patriots, it's got to be a shutout today. There's no one on that offense except for Cam Newton. All you got to do is stop him, and you're golden.
Nat, score prediction.
I don't like it, but I think that the Patriots are going to be able to move the ball on the ground a little bit against the Bills. I think the Bills win 27-20, so you still win by a full score. You still cover the spread. But I wish I was bold enough there to go with that score, Clay.
All right, I've been trying to rack the score in my brain. I think the Patriots get a couple touchdowns and a field goal, so that put them at 17. But I think the Bills can have a day. I'm gonna go 31-17 Buffalo.
I like it.
All right, guys, we are 30 minutes away from kickoff. It is our scheduled departure here on the Tailgate from Buffalo Fanatics, brought to you by Manscaped. Guys, one last comment that says you're getting preseason Feliciano, maybe physically, but he's going to bring that nastiness to the team. And one more comment from Peter J., who's been with us all morning. Bold prediction: Diggs 200 and 2 to 3 TDs. Ed Oliver 3 sacks. I would love to see Ed Oliver get 3 sacks on Cam Newton and basically say who's short now. So that's the setup. That's our hour and a half here on the Tailgate by Buffalo Fanatics. Nap, thank you very much for joining us. Clay, thank you for joining us. And I do want to correct myself in the earlier picks. Mitch got Seattle and Judge got the Eagles. So that's where our survivor pool is currently. Guys, thank you very much for having us. I got to get out of here. I got to drive home because I'm in my office and get back in front of the TV, maybe get a little food. Guys, enjoy the game.
Go Bills.
Thanks. Go Bills.